wide receivers right. They're going to go for two. Back to throw. Walsh looks, has the time, lost the ball. The pass is batted down. It's batted down by Carroll.
Dawson throws, open receiver in the end zone. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Somehow, the Irish did it.
Out of the pack, 30, 35. Goodbye, baby. At the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Fire, rocket, touchdown, Irish.
Zibikowski looking for a block. Cuts to the right to the 40. Gets a block. Gets to the 45, 50. Up to the 45, 40, 30. One man to beat. 20, 15, 10. He's down to the 5. Touchdown, Irish.
This is the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, Conspiracy Theory of the Blue and Gold Game edition. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, tonight, whenever you listen to this on the podcast version. Also, thank you to everyone who is going to be joining us tonight on Twitter Space. And then also, I am joined for the first time with upgraded equipment in the studio with his own microphone, but borrowing my headphones. My brother, Red Snapper 1998, is in the studio with me.
Wahoo! This is kind of cool.
Yeah, you
two
get your
booms, two mics.
Yes, we spent a little bit more money, and you now have your own mic, so we're not, leaning in like a barbershop quartet like we were before. Now, I did ask you to bring your large Bose headsets with the large cable.
Yeah.
Somehow there was a communication fuck up. But
yeah, wires got crossed, and I brought my old school Apple.
Yeah, that wasn't going to work.
With the mini actual audio plug-in mic.
Well, and these are actual 1/4-inch jacks, but anyway, we found a replacement, so that's fine. It's so we're good there. So thank you, everyone. This is the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, episode 2 of season 3, volume 54. We're going to talk about the blue and gold game tonight, kind of our daily reactions, and but we definitely want to hear from everyone else too. We don't want to just listen to ourselves. We want to be as interactive as possible. First, you can find the show on Twitter. We're on Twitter tonight, but on Spotify or iTunes, the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. I am at faithful_Irish.
And I am at Red Snapper 9098.
Awesome. Well, let's get to our first guest right now here on Twitter. We're going to go to Kev. Kev was the first to join, so we're just going to go down the line of who I saw to join. So, Kev, you've been invited to speak. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you very much for having me, guys.
Hey, it's our pleasure to have you joining us tonight. Kev, what's your Twitter handle?
It's at Kev11.
Excellent. So we met for the first time. Actually, this is the first time my brother and I have met anyone on Twitter at the Blue and Gold game.
And we met quite a few people. It was awesome to finally put handles with faces, with names, with real life people. It was great.
Yeah, and so we met up with Kev here after the game,
post game,
and
absolutely.
we sent the bat signal up, said, hey, here's our vehicle, and we're gonna be at pole 38. And we waltzed back to the car for some post game refreshments, and he was already there. So Kev, gold star to you for your patience. Hopefully you weren't waiting too long.
No, I was only waiting like maybe 5 minutes, and I was like starting to think like, maybe I misread that. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe it was like a pregame meetup or whatever.
This is a dirty trick.
I'm glad. yeah. No.
Fooled you? No, definitely not. So no, it was great to meet up and share some stories and just put faces with names. So Kev, what are your thoughts of the blue and gold game?
Well, I always look at the spring game as kind of just a nice little teaser for the fall, for the summer months and the fall camp. But I don't really take the spring game with a whole lot of seriousness because, let's be honest, these guys are dorming with each other. They play with each other. They practice with each other. They know each other's tendencies, and let's be honest, the coaches are very smart. They're not going to reveal all their cards in a practice game, if you will. So it was all pretty much vanilla play calling with the guys that are going to be seeing the field a lot this fall, I think. And then I saw, like, obviously in the second half when you had a bunch of the third and fourth string guys that probably aren't going to see much real playing time this year, they kind of opened up some playbooks for them a little bit just to kind of, get some excitement going. But all in all, I will say it was a very interesting spring game. I think the defense looked really, really good.
Yes.
Drew Pine struggled, I think, to see and throw over the offensive line. And to be fair, you guys brought up a good point at the post-game tailgate. They were interchanging offensive linemen trying to find a good cohesive fit. So, I mean, that can be a problem.
Yeah. I think they
but-
are still trying to work out the best, grouping and skill set, and I think you raised some really valid points about, clearly you're not going to go into the depths of the playbook. There's still some refinement going on. And it's really just, let's get some more reps for the first string guys, but then you have to kind of tip your hat to the third and fourth string guys as well.
Now, don't you also have to tailor the offensive line to the quarterback that's being played? When you have a difference in mobility, a difference in arm strength, difference in just height between Drew Pine and
he looked
Angeli,
tiny out there.
He did.
And
I'm sorry.
I don't know what he's listed at here.
There's only a 2-inch difference, 3-inch difference listed between him and Angeli on the roster that they were passing out, which was kind of cool. But it looked like a 4 or 5
that we will
inch
reference
difference.
now all season. So thank you, Notre Dame, for providing us with this roster when I walked in the door. Yeah. I mean, he's listed at 5'11" and a half. So he's shorter than me and you. Kevin, you're pretty tall too. So, I mean,
I'm 6'1".
Yeah. So we all had Drew Pine beat, and like, I'm sure I'm, a shrimp, compared to, Rocco Spindler, who's 6'4", so I mean, and let's not talk about weight. So, he can crush me with his baby pinky. So, but no, I mean, there's so many, there kind of is a little bit of wailing and gnashing of teeth. You can kind of tell with, the 33,000 people there, because people want to see some excitement, some electricity. And I mean, I'm just, trying to see, well, okay, yeah, the offense is, not impressing us, especially that first quarter. But then it's like, well, the defense looks great. What's everyone complaining about? And I said that multiple times. And like, I got some like weird looks and kind of some chuckles from some people around me, which I don't think they were amused. But yeah, I'm just like, well, I'd rather have a good defense. Like, if we had to pick, like, I mean, this is like not a question we ever want to ask, but it's like, would you rather have a good offense or a good defense? And it's like, well, I'd rather have a better defense than a, offense. So that's just kind of my thought on if I had to pick. But I mean, most people get excited about the offense, and so, but yeah, I think there's a whole lot that you can take out of this, but then there's a whole lot you really need to take a brick of salt with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's practice.
Yeah, for sure.
It's practice.
Practice.
Yeah, and
We talk about practice.
We're talking about practice, man.
And the thing is, too, the running back core is probably one of the most deep positions on the team. I mean, Jordan Price, he showed off. Audric Estim has done very well. Obviously, last season was limited playing time, and then this spring he did very well. Logan Diggs, another guy. Obviously, Chris Tyree. I mean, the running back core is going to be one of the strengths of this offensive unit, I think. Receivers were obviously pretty limited on, but there's certainly talent there. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, you get a good running game going, you get a good, mixture or balance there with different ball carriers. I mean, it's going to help take some of the pressure off of guys like Buckner and Drew Pine if he has to get called into action.
Yeah. I think it would be foolish to not expect something out of Drew Pine at some point this season, whether Buckner gets hurt or he's, still tripping downstairs on Notre Dame's campus or turning his ankle, bocce ball, incident, who knows? And so we do need to see him. So if you take the spring game, with that kind of approach, then you start getting concerned because you're like, geez, this is our backup. And, I mean, he threw some swing passes, and one of them was the 51-yard touchdown, but that was not because, that swing pass was so great by Drew Pine. No, it's because our new freshman running back is electric and awesome and arguably the MVP of the game on the offense.
Absolutely. Welcome to Notre Dame, Jadarian Price.
Yeah.
True freshman, and he was just balling
early
out
and early.
That second half.
Yeah.
I think people were coming up with different memes and slogans like the Price is Right.
I was like in my head playing the Price is Right theme, Dun, 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 dun. They should do that at Notre Dame Stadium if he scores. Instead of the like they have the Mike Myers theme, from Halloween when he like gets a first down. Yeah, for mayor. They need the Price is Right theme for Price if he does something good. That would be awesome. So
that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, but Notre Dame. That's a free tip from me to you. All right.
real quick here too. I think it's also important to admit that despite Drew Pine's struggles Saturday, we also have to take into account too that he pretty much played all-time quarterback for the first half. I mean, every series out there, he was the quarterback, it seemed. I don't remember any other guy getting any reps in the first half besides Drew Pine. So, again, it sounds kind of like it's an excuse, but I mean, think about it. When every time you turn around, you're going back out there and maybe stopping just to get a water break in between series.
Yeah, different series, different players, different, and the receivers were not really switching sides, right? So now you're working with a different set of guys, and I mean, my concern with Drew Pine, just if I just take this game in a vacuum and just evaluate the field on what we saw on Saturday, is he just seemed out of rhythm and just out of touch, and the ball was either sailing on guys, and he threw quite a few interceptions, which, again, if I put the defensive hat on, we're like, hooray, good job defense. You guys are awesome, and that's what we want to see. But if it is looking at just him and the offense and et cetera, there's clearly work that needs to be done with just him.
From what I saw, he had happy feet. He just was not comfortable. He looked nervous. I don't know if the situation was too big for him, but you saw it. I think it was mid of the second quarter. He had, I think it was a 6-yard run to get the first down on 3rd and 6. And he got that first down on a QB keeper draw up the middle. And it seemed like he settled down. But prior to that, it was throwing from the back foot, happy feet. He was a half second off, a little bit late every time. And I think that's where he was either sailing the ball or it was just underthrown because he was throwing from his back foot and he had no follow through.
Yeah.
I think it was in the second quarter. He had one really nice throw that I really liked. And that was the throw to Braden Lindsey. And it was the back shoulder throw. And Lindsey caught it right on the sideline, falling down.
And that was 2 or 3 plays after that 3rd down and 6 run where he just settled down.
Yeah, and that one I remember seeing on the highlights. I haven't gone back and rewatched the entire game on Peacock, right? But because I decided instead to take a nap. But because I took today off from work, woohoo! But I remember that play, and it was one of the few bright spots, and it was for decent yardages for first down, right? So that, and what's really great about that is that it was to Lindsey, and he looks thick. He has put on some muscle. You look at that guy, he's got Jalen Smith kind of, arms that are starting to come out, which is really nice for arguably the fastest guy in our team.
I'll tell you what, I really hope that Lindsey has a breakthrough year because that guy's got a lot of speed and a lot of talent. And I just kind of feel like we've all been sort of robbed of seeing that because Lindsey struggled with staying healthy. He's struggled at times of being consistent. I know a couple of years ago he had way too many drops in big time situations when he needed to make some big catches. And it's like, he's a senior guy. He's one of the leading guys in the receiving room. Somebody's got to step up because there's really not many guys there right now.
Yeah, it's going to be Michael Mayer leading that room.
Yeah, I think so. And that's another interesting thing is, why did we not see more of Mayer?
Because he's not a question mark. He is your go-to guy. You knew it. And they showed it a little bit in the third quarter. He caught, I think, 3 straight passes.
I mean, we really didn't see Diggs much. We didn't really see Tyree. Now, it looked like Tyree got hurt.
I don't know if he was hurt or
He looked like
he
looked like he limped off the field in the first quarter. I don't know. Again, you'd have to go back and watch the
this is where the
play.
Conspiracy theories come in.
That's what we've titled this. Well, what else can we do, right? There's nothing really concrete that we can take from the blue and gold game. I mean, we can try to do a stat analysis and the yards per point average of the gold team versus the blue, and it's like, no, the offensive line is jumping back and forth. You guys throwing on the, colored, what did we call them in school? Pennies.
Periwinkle blue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had like a fashion discussion, like blue, periwinkle blue, cornflower blue, the little jersey thing that they're throwing on, right? Quarterbacks are wearing red. So there's so many other things. So all we can talk about is like the strategy. Is there like some chess game going on? And we were even talking about, at the tailgate, like, well, you don't want to put too much on film for Ohio State, and all sorts of discussions came from that. So, well, hey, Kevin, we're stacked up totally on people. So hang with us. We're going to put you on mute. But real quick, any last thoughts you wanted to have before we move on to our next person? We've got tons of people. We got a ton of new people. Everyone who's listening, hang on. We will try to get to you, give everyone 5-10 minutes to say their piece. So, Kev, last thoughts.
Well, like I said, thanks as always. Nice to meet you guys. It was a great time Saturday after the game, and I look forward to being on here with you guys more often, and hopefully seeing you guys during the fall at Notre Dame at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're still in the works here on what game or games we will go to in the fall, but stay to Twitter for details. So. Kev,
Thanks,
it was great.
guys.
It was great meeting you. Have a good night and go Irish. All right. That was Kev. Thank you, Kev, sir, for joining us. We're going to go to a new person here who's hopped on, hopped up, and who has also requested to speak. We've got Ara Parsegian, Jason Yeager, Berkshire Yank, and a few other people. But next, we're going to go to at Notre Dame Prime. Is this like the Transformers version of Notre Dame football? I don't know. Optimus Prime, Notre Dame Prime. Go ahead and hit the pink button in the lower left hand to speak. Notre Dame Prime, Optimus. Hello, sir, or ma'am.
It is a sir. I'll tell you that much.
Hello, welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show, Notre Dame Prime.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
What's on your mind?
What would you like to
think of the blue and gold game?
Well, I did go to it in person. I got front rows next to the player tunnel, and I did agree with a couple points that that smart people mentioned, but I think with this year, with Freeman being the head coach and coming in, I thought we improved on a lot of things, and the first one that I could take away was the attendance. The majority of the lower bowl of the stadium was filled up with fans, especially in the center parts. So in the past blue and gold games I've been to, the past decade or so, I've not seen it that full.
Well, and the weather certainly helps. It was beautiful sunny weather to the point where I got a nice farmer tan going on right now.
Yes, I got
Irish got a farmer tan.
What? No, what are you talking about? We put tons of sunscreen on my son. Don't say things like that. Yeah, no, but I think I read an article, something like there was 33,000 people in attendance, so that's great.
Yeah, and then also the alumni turnout,
bingo,
just shy of 300 was a great PR move, and it's something that can only do good for university when you bring that amount of people back. We've obviously in the past, in the Kelly era, we did have a good amount, through his time there, come back to support the team, but Freeman hasn't even coached a regular season game yet. He did the Fiesta Bowl, but he hasn't coached a regular season game yet, and he had that many people come out just to see his first spring game.
Yeah, I was really happy to see all of the former players. I follow, a handful of current and former players on Twitter myself, and guys like Malik Zaire were there. Of course, the Rocket, Aaron Banks was honored, Dalen Hayes, and a bunch of guys who are currently in the NFL who are, kind of have, that NFL time off right now before they really get into their summer workouts.
It started earlier in the week by Jerome Bettis being there for the draft, for the spring game. So we saw a much greater involvement and kind of a nod to come back, support the team, and show them that you guys are in the NFL. There is life after football with Notre Dame, but these are the benefits, and kind of, I'm not just going to teach you how to get there. I'm going to put you in touch with the guys who have done it, who are doing it, and the guys, who know the steps. So I definitely saw kind of a nod to all of that. So it was great.
I think it's a good PR, and I don't want to say like recruiting angle, because that sounds kind of bad. Like it's a like there's some hidden message. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's genuinely Marcus Freeman is trying to engage, and have new recruits interact with current players and former players. So, and he's going to get guys that are from all over the country, from different walks of life, and demonstrate to the young guys, the 4 and 5 star guys who were our recruits who were possibly there. Hey, look, these are these guys. You may have heard of them, you may not, or some of these guys probably aren't super Notre Dame fans like we are, people listening to this show, people who listen to it on the podcast version, or the people in the studio tonight. But my point is kind of creating this dynamic of these legacy guys, current guys, and then potential new guys. It's all good. And plus, the fan interaction, and it's inexpensive, right? Admission was $10, and you can kind of sit wherever you want, which is great. And that's why we got 40-yard line seats. So Notre Dame Prime, what's your thought about the quarterback situation? I think that's kind of, one of the hot topics of what's going on here.
So my view on that is last season, it was roughly around the Wisconsin game time frame when Pine did step in, and he played well during the Wisconsin game. I was also there in person to witness that, and I will say, especially during the Cincinnati game, I was pro Drew Pine. I wanted him to be the starter. I still had, my faith in Jack Cohen. I knew that we were capable of winning games with him. I just thought that Drew Pine was a better option, because for a good period of time, up until I think it was the USC game, the offense was not that efficient, especially with the O-line. The O-line was kind of like the centerpiece of that problem.
I agree.
And so I was pro Drew Pine. I was not pro Tyler Buchner. I was, I've always been pro Tyler Buchner for the future, but for last season, I was on the Drew Pine hype train. And for the spring game, it was a mixture of disappointment, but I also expected some of it, because I knew Drew Pine's ceiling is significantly lower than Tyler Buchner's. I think Drew Pine is a more starter-ready quarterback, but I think we would, if we develop Buchner right, we have a better potential of reaching the playoffs or national title appearance.
Are you saying that if we had to start the season now, you would go with Pine just because you think he's more turnkey ready, but you're saying if given time and experience, the ceiling and the potential for Buchner is higher?
I would start Buchner right now. Obviously he can't play right now, he has an injury, but I was bummed not to see him play, but I think Buchner has been developed really well so far this offseason. But if you asked me at any point during 2021 for that season, I would have 9 times out of 10 said, Pine over Cohen or Buchner. I would have had Pine as the main guy. And I'm also on that, the boat where I think if Pine started the whole Cincinnati game, the game could have gone differently, but the passes in the past.
Yeah, don't throw turnovers in when you're about to score a touchdown, right?
Absolutely.
So, I want and expect Buckner to start versus Ohio State unless he gets injured. Like I said, I was disappointed with Pine's performance on Saturday, and I think he had also a handful of times where he should have been picked off, but it didn't happen.
Well, and there were times where he was picked off, right? And so that kind of raises some eyebrows of like, oh man, people are shuffling in their seats, kind of looking around, and shoulders are slunking. People are just don't want to stand. You know, I mean, I was kind of like, yay, an interception, good job defense, and then it's like, I get
that's the optimist
looks,
of you with the defense.
Well, there's nothing I can do but try to be positive, right?
It is a spring game, exactly.
It's a spring game. It's practice, right? And quite frankly, I'd rather him like get a ginormous slap of humble pie in the spring game, right? Like, hey man, we're gonna knock you down a peg. Like, yes, you could potentially. You are literally one stairwell from Notre Dame away from being the starter, right? With Buckner, being out, right? That's a joke, right? But and for the record, our show is very high on Buckner and the electricity that he does bring to our football team,
and did bring all last year, 2021. So
right,
I appreciate where you're at with the Drew Pine, and I would say part of it is also.
I'm trying to give my brother the like Navy SEAL signals of like give him more like away from the mic here. You're like way too close.
I think that
getting some closes here.
I think what we saw out of Drew Pine during Wisconsin last year, I think that was almost his peak. Unfortunately, I think that was his ceiling.
I think you can get back to that point though. I really do. I want the guy with the swagger, right?
Of course, and like I said, I was on the Pine train last season, 100%. And I think what we saw out of Buckner during Virginia Tech was his floor. That's what I believe, because Buckner did not play that well during that game, but I know Buckner can be better, because he did have plays throughout the season, especially later in the season, and he had a couple during the Virginia Tech game, where he looks like, he should have been the clear starter, but consistency is a big factor. So I think with having Buckner being behind, an experienced Cohen and having well over a year now, if not 2 years, to learn, Notre Dame playbook and all of that, and having an actual season under his belt to learn from, I think he's going to be our best chance if we want to make an actual run. He is that kind of like, you either win big or you fall hard. And I think if Drew Pine were to start, I think we could expect to be a winning football team at the lowest, but I wouldn't expect us to have that it factor to win the big games. And I think Buckner brings us the best chances for that. And then regarding the blue and gold game, I wasn't too surprised, but I thought Pine would have been, with having all of the time he would have been playing, I thought he would have been the best. But I think Steve and Jelly did the best between the three, especially the rushing touchdown had, the best stats, at least.
That was the best finish to a blue and gold game I have seen.
Exclamation point.
Since I think it was 2013 blue and gold game where Lewis Nix was at quarterback and ran a ball in, quarterback, quote unquote, Lewis Nix quarterback sneak in for a touchdown. That was the most exciting electricity I've seen at a blue and gold game since then. And this was even more exciting because it was, a true freshman, early enrollee quarterback. And you saw so much like potential, I think, in one play. Now, what's really interesting is if I went back and kind of read an article about stats and how everyone did, if we are putting all our hope on Steve Angeli with that one play, you need to to look at some of the other details because some of his other stats were not as exciting. I'll just put it that way. But that play in a nutshell showed a lot of fearlessness, and I don't think he was wearing the red jersey at the time, so it was kind of a little more live for him. And he did his Superman Everett Golson impression, which was fantastic. So,
you mean the Archangel?
Yeah, the Archangel. He's like flying like like Superman, an angel, what have you. So, yeah, we're looking at if he blows up, and good stuff happens there. It was really nice is to see the potential in him as a third string, kind of guy.
See,
right?
I'm already gonna put him at second string ahead of Drew Pine.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Based on that performance alone, I would say yes, but I wouldn't hold one game to Drew Pine. I just don't think Drew Pine should be over Buckner. I think Buckner's been developed really well from what I've seen at the practices.
Oh.
And not saying that Drew Pine hasn't played well either. I just think if you were to compare the two head on head, I think Buckner has that more boom potential. He makes plays a lot more frequently. He's been a lot better on, not getting in situations where, he's getting hit harder. He's being forced to throw bad passes. So I think Buckner's definitely improved a lot. And then some other takeaways for the game. I think defense played like a top 5 defense in all of college football.
Oh yeah, they look awesome.
And whoever made the claim that that they weren't being too physical out there, I understand where you're coming from. But one thing that I noticed was number 15, which is Ryan Barnes, cornerback. He was
the unnecessary roughness.
He got a targeting penalty. He got a targeting penalty by leading with a forearm, and he got it because he did the like William Wallace like stand over you like we're in Gladiator. Actually, okay, that's Russell Crowe, but like you get my point. Like,
but it was the third play in a row. It was
the
back
attitude
to back solid hits.
He probably got a warning too before that. That's my guess. Like they don't do that unless he's been warned. And and
I think
who did he even hit? I don't even know.
Was I can tell you right now. It was Charlie Selna, the tight end.
He got rocked,
89
man.
Twice, like square to the numbers on the first one. He had to. I'm sure he got the wind knocked out of him because the trainer had to come out, and then he was back in for that third hit. Barnes. But it was just boom, 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 and each time it was a ton of bricks hitting something. Gosh.
I don't know if they had stuff going on between the two or whatever, but that was definitely some hard hitting between there. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, you need some tough, rough, and I don't want to say like criminals, like because that's not what I'm trying to say. Like I don't want anyone to misunderstand.
Some blue collar toughness in there.
You need some guys with a screw loose on defense. You need someone who wants to hit someone, right?
The choo-choo train.
Yes.
From my point of view, I couldn't tell if the targeting was like correct or not, but let's say it was correct. I think Freeman should have had him. It was like 20 seconds left. I think he should have had him like technically get ejected and use that as a learning experience.
Does he have to sit out the first half of the Ohio State game now?
No, just as like
as a message to the team. I got you to hit solid, hit clean though.
Or did they throw the flag because they wanted to advance the ball and give Notre Dame a first down and an attaboy?
See, here we are with the other conspiracy theory.
No, it is. It's a bullshit targeting penalty, and we're going to advance the ball, give you a first down.
Regardless of it was targeting or not, let's just say it was targeting and it was a good call. I think he should have been ejected, and that could have been an example because when we're down by when we're tied with Ohio State in the fourth, and whether it was a good call or not, we get a targeting. That only hurts us. It doesn't help anyone because then we lose a player and then they get 15 yards.
And I would also say I would rather see proper form tackling by him rather than the gladiator stomp, stepping over your corpse kind of situation like
Agreed.
He did. So Notre Dame Prime, you said something interesting that I wrote down here, where you said what we've seen in practice. Now, are you referring to the Notre Dame highlights, or do you have some other connection with the
insider
university?
Connection?
I mean, you don't have to like reveal all your secrets, but I'm kind of curious.
Well, between the highlights and other footage filmed by some other outlets as well who are at the practices, I can, based on what I've seen at least, I haven't seen every single snap taken, but from what I have seen between highlights and some extra film,
I got really excited for a second that you were like, on the like training staff or, your sports medicine or, one of the grad assistants, I don't know, and just like, this is our inside man into what's really happening in the locker room.
He could be a walk-on. I mean,
for all we know, it could be Marty Auer that we met after the game, right? And this is his like burner account,
Yeah, I might have to keep that private, but all jokes aside, for the if you look hard enough, you can find some extra film on different sites and people who are there in person as well. I'm very close to South Bend. I make trips there frequently, probably every weekend. I'm there multiple times, but yeah, just what I've seen, I think Buckner, if you compare him to what we saw at times last season, I think you see two completely different players, and that's a good thing, because I think that player we haven't seen yet, Tyler Buckner, practice this year, is something that we want to see during the regular season, and especially versus Ohio State. Because I think we have the disadvantage coming into that game. I mean, we have more stuff to prove than Ohio State possibly, but I think if we come out with someone like Buckner, and we do, I'm not saying we have to pull off a Boise State, Oklahoma type game, but we have to.
Which I'd be okay with personally.
We have to be.
I love
creative.
Boise State so much.
And that game too.
That game, like, I don't want to get off topic of the spring game, but I mean, for anyone who's new to the show, this is Fighting Irish Faithful. My second, if Notre Dame football like didn't exist and I had to pick a second team, it would be Boise State. It would be Boise State. I love them.
Is it because of this play specifically?
No, just in general. And I don't. It's probably more the Peterson era of Boise State,
gotcha.
But like they still kind of have this like blue collar, like something to prove attitude, right? So it's kind of like Notre Dame in 1922, where they're like something to prove and they're getting shunned by the Big Ten. You know what I mean? Like they went into that game as like the little brother, and then they
razzle dazzled and
with Peterson, they were not afraid to pull everything out of the book to win the game.
The Statue of Liberty and the hook and ladder.
Well, and it doesn't hurt that Ian Johnson went to my high school, right?
True.
So, and I used to block for him. So that I would be a fool and lying if I said that didn't play into it. But well, anyway, Notre Dame Prime, thank you so much. Tell the world again your Twitter handle here. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here. My handle is Notre Dame_Prime. I'm on Instagram as well, TikTok, a couple other ones as well. So appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna go dark here for the summer since I am not in South Bend every weekend like yourself. The almanac says it's time for me to start planting my backyard garden.
And the almanac is always right.
It is always right. So we don't. That's a Hoosiers reference for you. But we're gonna move on here to some of our other guests, or some of our regulars, and then some other new people who I see on. So new people, stay on. Todd, I see you. If you don't want to speak, just say, hey, I don't want to speak, and then you can keep listening. But Notre Dame Prime, thanks for joining us, and have a good evening.
You as well. Take care.
All right, go Irish.
Irish.
Right. So we're going to move on. Era Parsegian, coach, we see you. Hang on. But we're going to jump to Jason Yeager next. Jason, you've been invited to speak. Another loyal member of the Fighting Irish Faithful.
And face with a name.
And now we have a face with the name, and we were able to meet you on Saturday. Jason.
And your beautiful family.
Beautiful family. Yeah. Hopefully the kids like the burgers.
Yes, they did.
Awesome. Hey, Jason, it's good to see you again.
One with ketchup, one without.
Yeah, I know your kids. So in the fall when we meet up, hopefully again, I'll already know what your kids want if we do burgers again, right?
Right. One has condiments, the other one never has condiments.
That's right.
Which is gross to me.
We'll bring some pickles and we'll pretend to put pickles on him, and we'll freak out your son. How about that?
Even better. He's the one who would have a hissy fit.
Like, or maybe we'll put him on secretly, and he'll take a bite, and we'll like watch the fun.
Oh yes, I've done that before.
Oh,
Just
goodness.
for fun.
Well, Jason, thanks for joining us again at J Yeager or J _Yeager. What's your Twitter handle,
Yeager.
Jason? We're on
Yeager.
J Yeager. Yeah, we're on a first name basis now, so it's
Right.
you know, Twitter handles have kind of taken a back seat to your face, name, and family. So, well, Jason, it was great meeting you. We really appreciate you locating us in the way back of the parking lot there. We're like closer to the woods and
Joyce lot.
Yeah, and I think it was the Walsh lot. I don't know what the Walsh building is. Is that the
Honestly, I kind of like the location, though.
Is that the architectural the other architectural building beyond Bond Hall? I guess engineering has multiple buildings, so I guess architecture can get multiple buildings. But
that's where I parked Friday for the shirt unveiling.
Right on. Oh, speaking of which, we haven't talked about that. What do you think of the shirt? I assume you like it. You bought it, so.
Well, I was gonna buy it either way, but
okay.
Yes, I've gotten pretty much every year except for there was a few years in the mid 2010s that I didn't, but outside of that, that's something that's been a family thing.
Right on. Now, did you keep the 2016 season shirt, or did you burn that one?
I still have it.
It's like we do yard work with that shirt on, right?
Yes, yeah, that one's a painting when I'm doing the painting.
Painting, right on.
Yes.
Painting shirt. That's good. Yeah, we went to the bookstore on Sunday after mass and spent some money, of course, and our whole household here got the shirt this year. I did not buy last year's personally. I thought it was too busy and there's way too much going on. I like clean, simple, crisp, to the point, and this shirt did that. And so yeah, we got it. So it was one of those designs. I'm like, you know what? I like this one, and we're here. Let's get it. So I don't have to pay for shipping now. So
I love the build up for the shirt, and you can really tell some people get into it because after
if it's not green, it's trash.
After the game,
whatever.
We checked into our hotel, and the nice lady checking me in asked, "Oh, hey, did you get a shirt?" And I said, "No, I'm going to be going tomorrow to go get it." And she immediately told me it's a heck of a lot better than last year in that ugly green color. Just full out. Here's her side of the whole thing. So it was great to kind of get that opinion because you see people like it's a big deal. The shirt is a big deal.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the shirt. The wife got to see our lovely coach in person and said about how cute he is in person, just as cute in person as he is on TV. So I had to listen to that.
There you go. Very good. Very good.
But to the game, I'm going off your conspiracy theories in your title here.
Yes.
Was Buckner actually hurt, or did we just not want to show anybody how well he's playing?
That is, I think, the ultimate question. I'm gonna assume positive intent, and I'm going to say that he did tweak his ankle, and because it's a practice and it is a little more live than your average practice, right? And it's kind of more for show, right? To engage, and I would be wrong to say there's like not a PR element to the blue and gold game, right? And to kind of close out the spring. But yes, I do think he genuinely did injure himself in some way. And that, maybe the injury was not like severe. Like, let me put it another way. If we were going in to play Clemson or USC and this had happened, he probably would be on the field and like taped up like no other. And
you wouldn't have even been able to tell that he was hurt.
Probably because he's, made out of kryptonite. But I do generally think it was hurt, and then the coaching staff and training staff said it's really not worth it. Like, obviously, we were all disappointed to not see him, be electric and stuff. But then we had multiple thoughts about this towards the end of the tailgate after we had all consumed a few, that well, maybe there's like some strategy with this. Marcus Freeman, Tommy Reese, they don't want to put more game film out there for Ohio State. Is this like some sort of advantage we're trying to give ourselves?
Is this gamesmanship? Absolutely.
And I don't mind either way, to be honest with you. But I usually go off of quarterback play with when my wife watches it, and the first thing she said was, "So who's the starting quarterback?" And I said, "Well, if Buckner's hurt, it's going to be him." And she goes, "Why?"
Oh, man.
So that kind of makes you wonder, too, if she can see that, which isn't a huge football fan. It didn't look pretty for the first quarter, at least.
Your wife's overall impression between Pine and Angeli?
She said about the guy who scored the game-winning touchdown, she liked him.
Oh yeah. I think everyone left. And if you were to write like a script of like people leaving, like the energy in the stadium was so much better after that. And that was like, I was like, oh, that was awesome, and to have Steve Angeli score in the way he scored, and then you could see the whole team like
win for the
tackle him, and they basically pulled a Rudy and like put him on their shoulders and carried him off the field. He didn't quite do that, but it was pretty awesome, and he was all smiling, when the NBC Peacock people were, post game interviewing him, and there's so much, content like that I got to catch up on, but it was really nice to see, and we kind of left and took that environment. And Grant, I don't think they put Drew Pine in a position to
"Quote,
do
unquote,
that.
Ball out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and just like, hey, all right, ball out. That's the perfect way to do it. Let's get it out there, whip it out, man. Oh, there's a pylon. Oh, it's the end of the game. Yeah, I'm gonna dive head first, and reach the ball out like I'm Cam Newton, right? That's what he did, and you got to ask yourself, is that's something Ian Book would do? And I left that game, watching Angeli, and I said, this is like the next coming of Ian Book or Everett Golson. Good Golson, right? Good Golson,
Yeah.
not turnover prone, carrying the ball like a loaf of bread Golson, right? We don't want that. If that happens, he needs to transfer, right? Like, no. Oh my gosh. I love Golson, but like he is like the weirdest like story of, like for a Notre Dame quarterback I've ever experienced. But
For sure.
oh my gosh. But so Jason, other than the Buckner conspiracy theory that we don't want to put let's put it this way. He didn't play a crazy ton last year. They clearly didn't play him in the bowl game, and they didn't play him in the spring game. So is there some like strategy to put as little film on him as possible to give us more of an advantage going into Ohio State?
Very well could have been. I think honestly he did tweak something, and it's a scrimmage. It doesn't matter, and I'd rather him be healthy. But I think after seeing what Drew Pine did, and then knowing what we expect from Buckner after a year of no football, and then what he did last year, I think we kind of are going to come out of this with one quarterback, and I think that's going to be Buckner. I think he's going to be getting his shot against Ohio State, barring something crazy in the summer. But I think that's what we're going to end up seeing.
I think the one thing that I'm like disappointed and glad at the same time. First, I'm disappointed that Drew Pine did not have a better performance. I'm disappointed that he did not come out, throw, 3 or 4 touchdowns. Let's just say 4, 2 for each team, the blue team and the gold team, because there was no shortage of reps permitted or thrown at him, pun intended, right? And so I'm disappointed that he did not take that opportunity and capitalize on it. And we've talked about a few things like, about being too short for the linemen, being too out of sync with receivers, to, dumbing down the playbook and some of these other things. But you would think if you went to the meat and potatoes, just your basic sets of your passing game, that would be more like clockwork. Or maybe our defense is just that good, right? I don't know. But I'm disappointed in the fact that he was given this opportunity to really shine, really put himself in a position to take the starting job. Let's face it, if he had stepped to the plate, thrown 4 or 5 touchdowns, we'd be having a completely different show. And it would be about, well, shit, maybe Drew Pine and what we saw in Wisconsin, what we saw in this blue and gold game, man, maybe he does need to be the starter. And here's the evidence, the data, that's what we talk about in this show, the evidence that suggests and supports him being the starter. That did not happen on Saturday. And so now everyone is like, well, maybe Angeli is the second string, right? With his electricity and you know, the as ND Prime said earlier, you know, the potential for Angeli is already looks better than the potential that we will get from Drew Pine, right? That's the kind of stuff that, you know, people are going to be talking about in the off season, and people will be assessing in the summer come fall, right? It did not look like he took the opportunity, ran with it, or passed with it. I'm trying to be a pun there. It didn't quite work. But
RPO.
Yeah, he did not RPO, which I'm okay with, right? But that's the thing. We didn't exactly showcase Drew Pine as we all would want him to be. If anything, it was more of a showcase of the running game, which I'm okay.
RTDB.
Hashtag RTDB, run the damn ball. So I'm okay with that personally. But we do have to have someone solid back there at quarterback, and we do need to throw passing touchdowns this season if we want any shot of, you know, playoffs, New Year's Six, what have you. So I'm disappointed in Drew Pine, not like because, you know, I'm trying to be mean or anything. No, I'm just disappointed. Like, oh man, you know, I want everyone to be successful at Notre Dame, right? And I want Drew Pine to be successful at Notre Dame. You know, I don't want him to transfer. I don't want him to not perform well. Certainly not in a game. And you know, when you throw a bunch of picks, that doesn't look good. However, I'm also glad that this happened, only in the sense that it's like, okay, yes, Buckner's got an injury. He's clearly the starter. And now we don't have this offseason drama of, well, quarterback controversy.
Is there going to be a challenge for
who's number one, who's number two? And I actually think that does more harm to your football team as a whole than it does to just making things interesting and mixing it up, right? When it was Malik Zaire and Deshaun Kaiser going into the 2016 season, I'm not saying that's why we sucked that year. No, that's not what I'm saying. But that is noise. That certainly doesn't help, right? And so we don't have that situation now. It appears that we have a true starter still in Buckner based off of what we saw on Saturday. And, you know, again, as Jason just pointed out, unless something crazy happens in the offseason and, you know, someone blows up at, you know, Culver or wherever they're going to go for, you know, summer, you know, 2-a-days kind of situation, we'll see. I don't know. So here's another thought. If we're talking about conspiracy theories. So, this is your first time on campus in a while, and we drove by the new football practice complex.
Correct.
That when we were there for the Navy game, we were on the other side of campus. We didn't see that. And they're clearly practicing indoors and using that facility, and that's fine. And a lot of the time, the weather has been real crappy leading up to this game, and it was the hottest it was. You know, you got defensive guys that are cramping up, you know, and stretching it out, you know, stuff like that's going on. Was Drew Pine negatively impacted because he's so used to playing in, you know, 68 degrees in an air-conditioned building versus being out in the hot sun? If we had like watched from inside a dome, right? You know what I mean? Like, is the outdoor thing, like, me personally, like football is a rough and tough contact sport, right? And I'm like, if it's snowing, those, you know, guys need to be outside in the snow, you know, because like you know, toughen them up, you know, like, you know, I'm not saying they're being sissies. Yeah, like run the power sweep. You're the quarterback, you know, like, I don't know, like that's the kind of stuff, like, yeah, like it's a contact sport, you know,
it's
and
a game of elements,
right? Like if you want to do conditioning and stretching and stuff, like, fine, but like when you get out to the, you know, horseshoe, if it's raining, You know what I mean? Like you got to deal with the elements. Like that's the thing. Don't let the elements be an excuse. You should be used to, like, you and I, we're both from Southern California. We ran 2-a-days practice in 90-degree, 100-degree weather.
Yeah.
There are people that listen to this show that are from the South, from the Midwest, that were in 100% humidity, whatever, in the summer, in practice, 2-a-days where it sucks, right, with humidity. Something you and I unfortunately didn't experience, but we did experience heat. My point is, you do that for a reason, to not have the elements negatively impact you, right? Could the elements impact you on the game? I don't know, and I think there's something to be said about playing the spring game in the elements, but this is a question I'm going to throw back to Jason here. Jason, do you think that Drew Pine would have done better if they had practiced outside in the sun more?
No. To put it bluntly, I think the other way around.
Real quick.
My whole thing with when you talk about a dome quarterback, or the Drew Breeses, the Peyton Mannings, it's when they get into the elements of cold, rainy weather or snowy weather, not 80 degrees and sunny and perfect out. I don't see that being an issue for a quarterback play. A lot of his plays that he made were bad reads, miscommunication with the one interception was receiver was cutting and he thought he was just turning around. It's just not having it's
more of an experience thing
like,
and connection thing.
Yeah,
it
looked more like he wasn't being a number one quarterback during practice, and so he wasn't with the number one receivers that were out there with him.
Well, I will say this: there weren't too many, like, quote unquote sacks. There's a few that they blew the whistle on, right? I was very, very happy to see the level of conditioning, especially the D line, right? I think the rotation that Al Golden is using with the D line, and clearly Marcus Freeman has his finger on the pulse here. I saw them rotating guys on a down and distance basis that made sense. They weren't doing a whole lot like, this crazy package and that package, and again, they kind of dumbed things down for the spring game. I get that. But if anyone's going to be negatively impacted by the elements, it's the D-line. And I didn't see the D-line guys, or even those O-line guys who were going both ways, right? I did not see those guys really, causing problems or having the elements negatively impact their play.
Agree.
And especially the D-line, because
D-line looked great.
And the running, we didn't run through the tackles very well at all, right? So that's a good thing that the D-line and the linebackers and those guys are stepping up to the plate and not letting them impact us.
And that was a huge problem last year, was our run defense. The number of holes that were just between the tackles, just leaking like sieves, yards. And best example was the game I saw last year, the Navy. How many yards did the Navy run? And it's the Navy. We know they're going to run.
Yeah. We've got to go between the tackles there for sure.
The one thing too on D line, I actually talked to Tyson Ford, walking to my car.
Really?
And yeah, so I was walking to the car and somebody on a little scooter, and it said Ford on the water bottle. So he kept looking at me, and my son goes, "Look, football player," and he stopped and said hi, and he seemed very excited. Really, really, really nice guy too.
So did you get like some photos of Tyson Ford with your children?
No, it was just me and him, and we were running to get the car, so we didn't get to talk too much.
Okay.
It was more or less him saying, I'm not the big stop people to take pictures, especially if we're not in a stadium or something like that. I'm more of a in the moment type guy of just getting to talk to somebody.
Nice, right on.
But he said he loved what he sees. He loves the campus. I asked him how he's liking it so far since he's, early enrollee and everything else like that. I was
just going to say, he's an early enrollee, so he's still got the, I mean, he's gone through class, right? And he's got, a little bit of a schedule right now. So he's a full-time student.
Yep.
So
and
so
he said it's different.
I'm sure that's putting it mildly. My first semester
Yes.
at Notre Dame I cried.
It was different.
It was different.
It was definitely different.
It was different. So,
But I couldn't have. He made my son's day, giving him a high five and telling him hi, and just I asked him how he's liking school so far, like in Notre Dame, and he said he loves it. His family loves it. He's happy to be there. Loves the coaches. The players have been real good with him, and he's excited for what's to come. So
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
We met, Marty Auer after the game,
and his parents.
Well, and that's what's interesting about it. So we're parked way in the back. We're doing the post game tailgate thing, and then with two cars over is there was another family that was just chilling, and we thought they were just some family, but then we got to chatting with them as we're kind of winding down. They're winding down, and it ended up being Marty Auer, who's currently a freshman, will be a sophomore this coming fall, and so we got to meet him, and so we're gonna give Marty Auer a shout out on the podcast. I asked his permission. He said he'd be okay with that. So yeah, good guy from Illinois, nice family. Really nice to see him and just shake his hand and put a face with the name with him. So that's really great. That what's really fun about the blue and gold game is it's a lot more relaxed, and I think these kind of interactions between fans and the players are appropriate and acceptable.
I think encouraged also.
Yeah, and there's probably a fine line, right? Obviously, you don't want some crazy fan like, oh my god, but yeah. Like. But I think within certain,
but be there with your family, and if every player's family was there, go spend
right?
time
Like
with your family and their friends.
Jason looking for his car, okay, we park over here, over there, with his son is a very non-aggressive, way of meeting a player. Our car is here. Your parents' car is there, no, we're neighbors. Hey, nice to see you. You guys want a brat? That's kind of the conversations we're having.
Did you meet our son who's a walk-on?
Oh, by the way, yeah. And that was, his mother is like, oh, my son is, like typical mom, right? Who's,
exactly.
Oh, did you meet my son? And he's probably like, Mom, shut up. Like maybe not. I don't know. But no, it's really, you would not get that on a normal home game at Notre Dame in the regular season, right? It's clearly more intensity, right? We've already talked about it being a practice, and so that kind of stuff is going on. So, well, Jason, it was really great meeting you at the tailgate. Really, really happy to put a face now with the name. Had some good times with you, your wife, your children. We hopefully will do this again soon in the fall when we hopefully get back up there. I don't know yet which game it would be. Still, it may be Vegas. I don't know. Yeah, that's still kind of a commitment, and it's gonna be crazy expensive in Vegas. So we'll see. But anyway, Jason, any last thoughts? Before we get to Coach Parsegian, who's been very patiently waiting.
No, it was great meeting you guys. Like you said, putting a face to the names, it's awesome. And one last thing, my wife is a very non-social person, so your wife and having the baby there, and that made everything a lot smoother for me. So.
Having your spouse and your 10-month-old son,
yes.
Really makes it a non-threatening environment at the Fighting
we're
Irish
a family
Faithful.
tailgate.
It's definitely a family tailgate.
Yes, and that's exactly what she was worried about. The last tailgate we talked about before with her didn't go so well. So.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the tailgate story. Oh, that's right. And then you went to the backer. Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. Anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, well, maybe Jason doesn't want us to say this, but he can cut me off if he wants. It's already out there. Before the end of last season, go back to the Fighting Irish Faithful After Dark episode on Spotify or iTunes. We had some epic storytelling, I'll put it that way, Jason had a funny story. Dave, who hasn't jumped on, but I think he's working night shifts.
Till
so
11, he said.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll stay on that late. But maybe we'll do something at the end here. But yeah, anyone who's new to the show or just wants to go recap that, go to the Fighting Irish Faithful After Dark episode if you want to hear Jason's story and an experience he had involving his wife at tailgates in the game. And it was a good show. It was really fun.
And I'm definitely glad that baby Irish Faithful and the doc were able to give some good camaraderie to your wife. And the kids
we want it. And that's kind of what this show is about. Like we want the fan interaction. We want like your average person to have the ability to voice their opinion, about their football team, what they're excited about, what they think of the quarterbacks, right? We don't want to just listen to ourselves, and especially the spring game where there's really not a whole lot you can concretely take from the stats here of the game, right? It's kind of moot to break down, okay, this was our rushing yards, and that, I mean, we could do that, and that would be kind of interesting, and maybe from a comparison of like this receiver versus that, or this quarterback versus that, or like, this is how many tackles for loss and interception. Like we could go through all of that, but they're still filling out who the starters are going to be and what the depth chart is going to be and things of that nature. And other than maybe the quarterbacks and some of the key playmakers, and highlighting them for a few minutes and then letting them sit to let the third and fourth string guys and guys like, Marty Auer, and Tyson Ford jump in there and, let people get their 5 minutes of fame,
and see what they can do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Go out there and show me what you got, kids. Slap them on the ass and get out there. Right. That's what you got to do in this kind of environment. And let's face it, families are there. The players' families are there. They want to see their sons playing. I'm sure, Marty's parents were psyched to go. And if I can get the game, to stream again on Peacock, I will be looking for Marty towards the end of the game at safety. I think he was on the gold team. Anyone who wants to know, Marty is number 49. So we're going to give him a shout out on that. And that's the kind of stuff we're going to look for. I'll be looking for, okay, when was Tyson Ford in there and things of that nature. So, all right, Jason, it was really great meeting you at the tailgate and meeting up, face with the name. And thank you also for your support of the show. It's been fantastic. We're going to move on and have a good one. Thank you, sir. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to click over. My glass is empty. All right, it's not full. I'm sorry for being
What are the
negative.
benefits of having a second person in the studio?
Right. So this is what we're going to do. So this is like when you're in the airplane and the pilot like has to go back to take a deuce, right? I'm gonna hand the controls over to the co-pilot.
I thought last time we talked about bathroom discussion.
No. This is a metaphor, right?
Just sound
that
effects.
actually happened in a show where someone was taking a dump, right? And we heard a toilet flush. Okay. No, this is I'm gonna hand it over. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna click over to Coach Barsegian,
right? And
you're gonna bring him on. Make sure everyone hears his Twitter handle, okay?
Of course.
Because he is our most loyal supporter of the show, and so I'm gonna give him a lot of praise, and then I want to hear him back. And he'll be done with his snack. By the time I get back, pouring myself a bourbon.
Hopefully he's already had his snack.
He's probably like, gosh,
let's bring the coach on.
All right, Coach, we're bringing you on. You're invited to speak. I'm gonna go fill up my bourbon. Coach.
Coach, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
There he is. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm great, but this one goes out to you guys.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. We had a great time, and definitely it was just a great time. We definitely wish you could have been there, especially after talking to you earlier in the week, and knowing that you want to get up there and would love to be up there, and definitely, Fighting Irish Faithful and I would love to have you sitting side by side with us watching all this unveil like we did with DB, and definitely got to break it down with Kev and Jason before and after. So definitely go ahead and give me your Twitter handle one more time, Coach.
It is at Coach Barsegian.
Awesome.
So
what was your major takeaway?
Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I did have a prior commitment, so I was unable to watch the game.
Okay.
So, but
I'm
from everything
I'm pretty sure Peacock's gonna probably replay it. It should be searchable anyway, on demand for them, since it is on Peacock.
Sure. But from everything I have heard, I want to say last year during the Wisconsin game, I heard a lot of talk like the guys rallied around Drew Pine differently than they did around Cone. They just played more upbeat, up-tempo, more motivated. Who knows? From everything I've heard, I don't see Pine being the guy now. It's just through all of last year when Buckner was in, you just saw the more impact plays, the big key moment plays, especially with his legs, which who knows how stable those will be with the way he keeps going downstairs. But it's just...
No, I agree.
He
I agree.
needs to just, unless he's desperately needed, let Drew Pine keep riding the pine. So,
ooh, that was a good metaphor right there. Just did.
Drew, keep riding the pine. Yeah, I think after the last show, everyone was excited, obviously, to see what Buckner was going to do, how it was going to compare, and I think everyone kind of in their heart of hearts wanted a Buckner versus Pine go at it, for the first half of the blue and gold game.
I mean, I definitely was wanting that.
And then literally a day later, we find out, nope, Buckner's not going to even play. Drew Pine's going to be going both ways, and did absolutely take the significant reps for both teams the entire first half. But I think it went from having a quarterback competition that everyone was excited to see happen to almost by the negative, no quarterback competition because Drew Pine was disappointing and Buckner didn't even play. And I think the biggest quarterback note on it was Angeli may have the argument for the backup, and Buckner probably does have the clear number one. At least that's the assumption.
So I saw something on Twitter yesterday or Saturday. Ron Powless's son is at Notre Dame right now.
Yes, he is.
Ron Paulus III. Yep.
What's his status on the depth chart? Is he third or fourth string?
I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, I think prior to the game, he was probably third. But I mean, with Steve Angeli literally flying into the end zone and doing good things like that, chances are he's looking at fourth string at this point. I mean,
so he's kind of like Montana's son, just
yeah, kind of. I get kind of that Nate Montana kind of vibe, with Ron Paulus III. He didn't do anything to make me super excited about him. As much as I want everyone to be successful, you can only look when you're handed the ball and it's your job to perform, and clearly there's a lot of things going on between defensive backs and what play is being called, down and distance, receivers, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, look, I'm evidence-based and he didn't quite get it done versus how Steve Angeli did, conspiracy theory of, bogus targeting penalty aside, allowing the gold team to advance. That's not the point. The point is, to answer your question, I do think he's looking at kind of like fourth in line at this point.
Oh, definitely.
More of a scout team kind of situation. I
don't think there was anything for him to really ball out or show because Jadarian Price behind him was just taking the ball, handing, getting it from him on handoffs
right,
and just going 20 yards.
Let's face it, Price is a good, early enrollee, and he is, I think, look, go back to the last show. Anyone who's listening, and we went through and looked at the importance and analyzed and broke down that recruiting is vital to Notre Dame going forward. And I don't mean that cliche. we went through and put numbers behind why it's important. Our recruiting on average over the last 10 years-ish has been about 10 or 12 in the country. The team that's holding the big trophy at the end of the year, they average 5th in the 4 years of recruiting leading up to their title, right? So the point I'm making is recruiting is essential. Therefore, your big recruits, the guys that come in, those 4 or 5-star guys, you have to feature them. You have to show them, all right? Ron Paulus III, we like the guy. He's a legacy, right, with his family and whatnot. And that's not why he's there. Like, if he could not throw the football, there's no way he'd be on the football team, right? That would be, that's some, sleazy stuff if that's not the case. So he clearly deserves and has earned his position on the football team. Whether he's the starter, that kind of thing is maybe not the case based off of, the impact of these other guys. Ergo, when someone like Price with a huge ceiling who's just tapping into it, hey, give that guy the ball in a swing pass, a draw, whatever. Let's feature some of these good players. And because quite frankly, these guys are talented. They want the ball. They're hungry for some playing time. That's why they came to Notre Dame. They want to win. They want to show off their skills. And I'm okay with that. It's okay to feature some of your best players and your guys with some of the best talent. Okay. So if that means, we're not having Ron Paulus throw as many passes and instead he's handing it off to Price, I'm fine with that.
And I think the play calling did see that shift because Jadarian Price was that electric and putting together that much of a statistical, base.
And something I really appreciated about that is it's kind of what happens in a real game. When you're in a real game, this is the most real game thing that you could probably take from this football, what we saw on Saturday. Because it was a practice. We're talking about practice. When someone has a hot hand or someone has, just is starting to buzz.
The NBA Jam, his shoes were on fire. Okay.
Yes. NBA
Is it
Jam.
The shoes? Yes.
Is it the shoes?
He's on fire.
Oh, dude. Man. All right. Now I want to Sega. But seriously, if someone is getting on fire, you keep giving that guy the ball, right? Let's go back to the Wisconsin game. We were talking about Drew Pine, right? Drew Pine started lighting things up when Cone went down, right? And it's like, dude, let's go, right? And then the defense was taking it away, right? And that's really why we won. But that's the kind of stuff that you need to do. Price and Estime were the most electric 2 guys we saw, and I was happy that it was both running backs, which is fantastic. But
Hashtag RTDB.
Right. And we were talking earlier about Braden Lindsey. If Lindsey was just, going all, Chase Claypool all over the field, or Golden Tate, right, and just destroying people like Jess Samardzija used to do back in the day, then maybe we'd be having a different conversation, and it wouldn't be about Price, it would be about Paulus, and it would be about Drew Pine throwing passes
and
to
this is where we
these
cue
guys.
The Michael Mayer music, the background. Don't forget about him.
Right, but the conspiracy theory is our 3 best players, 4 best players on offense. Mayer,
Gibson, Tyree.
Who's Gibson?
Or not Gibson.
Who are you talking about?
Sorry. Mine just went
way
off base.
Is there? Here, let's check the roster here. Is there a Gibson, Corral? There's an Estime. No Gibson.
Darian
Price,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to Google search
Diggs.
Logan Diggs. Yeah.
Why did I say Gibson?
Dukes of Hazzard hood slide.
Yes.
That's okay. Yeah, that's right. Think before you speak. That's fine. And I'm the one drinking the bourbon here, which is really funny. But that's okay. It's really, go back to the conspiracy theories. We did not really show, who would you expect to see, Mayer, Buckner, not Gibson. Do we put Gibson on a t-shirt? Now that's infecting me, right? Logan Diggs, right?
Logan Diggs.
These are the guys that, you would quote unquote expect to see, who we didn't see. So, and again, maybe this is a conspiracy. This is the gamesmanship. We're not going to show these guys because that's something we got to put on film, and we don't want to throw some to Ohio State, right? Maybe, I don't know, like, does it really matter? No, because it's a spring game.
Yeah, and those guys are all automatic.
It's giving us show content.
There's no question marks with them. We know what they're capable of. We have plenty of film. We have plenty of study on them. We know what they can do. So do we need to see them? Do we need to risk them injury? Do we need them there? No. Again, this goes, did Buckner really need to be there to solidify? Is he the number one? Yes or no? I think it was more of Drew Pine, his chance to either make it a competition and win the starting quarterback role or lose it. And in this case, I think he lost it.
Yeah, I agree with that. We've kind of talked on that as well. So, Coach, and forgive me while I was, going back into, first class cabin here to pour myself a bourbon before coming back into the cockpit here of the studio. I like that. And what's funny is like if you're ever on an actual flight now, when you see that happening, they all the flight attendants go to the front to like create this like barrier, for security, and that's fine. It's security. Like, I don't really care. What's funny is like all the cats are sitting outside the door, just like, oh, what's going on? They just want to come in and hang out. But it's like, I get that same vibe, so I go out and do my thing, come back, and the cats are like, oh, hey, what's up? And it's like, no, just back to your post. But Coach, it sounded like because the game was on Peacock and it wasn't streaming on NBC Sports or NBC or something like that, that you
engagement.
You have not seen the full length of the game from start to finish, so you're probably just watching highlights and reading, ND Nation articles.
Yeah, mostly just checking Twitter, but make sure you can hear this.
Oh, son of a
there
bitch.
It is.
I'm gonna muting his microphone right now. Yeah, Coach, you've been in microphone timeout. That's one of the joys of the mixer, is I can turn everyone down. Like, Coach, your level is all the way down. All right, we'll turn you back up. But damn it, you're just trolling.
Well, that was just for you. You brought it up last time, so just.
Oh, we're gonna keep bringing it up. There's some etiquette here on this show. Yeah, we're a little shoot from the hip. We're not professionals, we're not professional sports writers. We are normal people, normal fans, super fans who just love their football team and want to talk about it, right? Sure, you can buy a T-shirt for the show, but honestly, go ahead.
I was gonna say this is just a few hours old, but John at Always Irish tweeted it out. One of the recruits, I think Tate is his last name. I don't know if Notre Dame's interested in him or not. But Brian Kelly apparently tried to recreate the Golden Throne with the Heisman Trophy.
I did see this. Yes.
I'm just now seeing it. So
I did see this. No, and I've seen this all over Twitter all day about how they've taken a throne chair kind of situation, put the recruit, like he's throwing up deuces or whatever he's doing, and sitting in an LSU jersey with the throne, and it is totally exactly like what Notre Dame did with. Now Notre Dame's is way cooler because, quite frankly, Notre Dame, the Dome, the Fighting Irish, right? They made their throne out of gold bricks. Now Notre Dame has so much money, it might be actual gold bricks. Probably not, though. But the golden throne made out of gold bars is way cooler than this glitzy something it looks like you would buy on Etsy kind of throne from that they had down there. I don't know what the throne has to do with the Tigers. It would and. Obviously PETA wouldn't like this, but if it was like a tiger, like stripes, like robe, like that would have been cooler. Put a crown and a scepter with a tiger like robe,
It's something Mardi Gras related, I'm sure.
Yeah, I kind of get that. Where is it? They're up in Baton Rouge, right? Like, that's not close at all to New Orleans, but I don't know. People think Louisiana, and
you're in Louisiana,
right? But like, it's not a small, like, tiny state, like Rhode Island or Hawaii, or it's a bigger state than Indiana, even, right? So I don't know, like, I guess, if the stereotype works and that's how people at LSU identify, hey, more power to. I've never been to Louisiana. I've never been to New Orleans. I respect LSU as a program. I think they made actually a really bad decision hiring Kelly. I'm really excited to hate watch LSU. It's really just hate watching Kelly just because I think the guy's an arrogant prick.
I respected LSU a lot more when Les Miles was there.
Agreed.
But I mean, Les Miles was a respectable coach. He took them from literally nothing after Saban left and built them up into a national power. I still think LSU did him wrong, but they went with Coach O, who does nothing but chug Monster energy drinks 5-6 times a day and can't give a press conference without subtitles, and it's whatever.
Yeah, no, I think there's some other things that have gone in the background with both the Mad Hatter and Ogeron down at LSU and whatnot. But yeah, there's LSU is what it is. It is it's big boy football, and the last 2 times Notre Dame played them, and what's crazy about that is Kelly was our head coach, and we beat them both times. In the Music City Bowl in 2014, and in the the Camping World Bowl or whatever the hell that was in
Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's the same stadium too, but they just have a new sponsor. So with all the Dots pretzels we had at our tailgate, you'd think we were sponsored by them, and yeah, they're in the studio here. I gave like the death stare to Red Snapper here. He comes in, and I think he did it just to troll me with my toilet talk from earlier. But yeah, he pulls out the bag of Dots pretzels here and he starts chewing it into the microphone. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that on the show. Like it's already like, as oh gosh, what am I listening to? Damn it, Coach. All right. Hey, Coach, you're being warned here. We got 2 other people that are listening on hold. I got Ron Taylor and ND Fanatics here. Hey, guys, hang on. We'll get to you here. Coach, we're going to probably move on since we got some other people. We want to give them the opportunity to chime in. It's late. It's Monday night. It's a working night for people. We're about an hour and a half in here. Coach, last thoughts here about the blue and gold game and as we go into the summer.
I know I'm going to be sure to try to watch it at some point, or at least catch the highlights, but I wouldn't worry too much as far as the quarterback position. There are other positions that we're really in dire straits about right now, especially wide receiver.
Yep.
So I wouldn't worry too much about the quarterback
defensive back and wide receiver is really, if we can lock up those 2 areas and perfect the craft of those guys and really have those guys be on point and firing on all cylinders, I'm with you.
But that should be it. Just quarterback, I'm not worried about. So
awesome. Well, Coach, thanks again for your loyal contribution. Eric Parsegian, at this point, probably I could go back. I should do like a spreadsheet of how many times who and what has been on every show.
I think he's actually been on live.
He's been on every single one of our live shows. Yeah. I can say that with 100% confidence. Now, how many? Like, does he have like 10 rings, like Tom Brady or whatever? But like, seriously, Coach Parsegian, we really appreciate your loyalty. Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to move on to our next person straight into it. At Fanatics ND Fanatics, you've been invited to speak. Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. If you wish to join us, ND Fanatics, I think we talked to you in the post-game show after the bowl game against Oklahoma State. But ND Fanatics, you've been invited to speak. Go ahead and join us if you so wish. But anyway, some other thoughts while we're waiting on ND Fanatics to join us here.
I got a big one.
Oh, okay,
I definitely
go. Is it a stat piece?
It is.
Okay.
But it's going to start with, it goes back into the recruiting. It goes back into the transfer portal. And specifically, I wanted to bring up Brandon Joseph. What did you think of Brandon Joseph and how he played?
I wish I could say 100% confidence that I was keying in on him during the blue and gold game and watching his play. I was actually looking more at Jalen Sneed on the defense, since he is our 5-star recruit, and I was watching him. I did watch a few plays of him. In the few plays I did, I think he has a great first step. When he makes a proper read, his first step is very quick in the direction it needs to go. So, and that's amazing for someone like a safety to have that first step be in the right direction. This is the safety valve, right? It's what you're supposed to do. So that was my first impression of Brandon Joseph is, what is the direction you're going? Are you making a proper read? And he's getting there. Now, I haven't looked at, the stats and how many tackles he had or anything like that. I don't think he had any interceptions. But if I had to give him a grade and what I've seen, I'd say it was a pass. So, I
believe he almost had one interception. And then he was definitely filling the run gap holes. Like you said, his read, his first step was pretty good. He was definitely more of a run stuffer than a passing ball hawk magnet, than like kind of compared to Kyle Hamilton. I think he definitely is going to play a little bit further up to the front side of the field in the run defense, be a little bit more heavily influenced there than, say, Kyle Hamilton, who is more of that almost pick it off free safety. So I think that's going to be the difference between the two of them. But I was definitely encouraged by it, and I can definitely see where he earned being an All-American last year. So I'm glad we got him on our team. So.
Yeah, when I was announced shortly after the bowl game that he was leaving Northwestern and transferring to Notre Dame, I was very happy with that. If we want to talk about guys on the defense that impressed me, how about this guy, true freshman, other than Price, who is awesome, Jaden Mickey, our cornerback from Corona Centennial, not too far from where we're from in the Inland Empire.
Correct.
So Mr. Mickey, he had a great game, and I think he had one of those situations where he almost got an interception. He did that like oh man, and he like jump in the air, kind of like it's so close, like that was like he had it and it just bounced off his hands, or just like and he's going to be thinking about that in the off season, and like that's going to have a fire in his belly, and like I'm excited to watch that guy, and that dude, man, you talk about someone who like looked like he physically has the tools right now. It's that guy.
Okay.
So well, we're waiting on Indy Fanatics to join us. Maybe they were out. Who knows? But here they've joined on, so we'll move on. But Indy Fanatics, you've been invited to speak. By all means, jump on if you so wish. If not, you just want to listen. That's cool too. Few other things to talk about. The defense is awesome. In addition to Mickey, and we're just plugging up the holes, and the tackling looked good. I did not see arm tackling. I did not see guys out of position. Granted, they're used to seeing these things in practice. So, I'm sure they're not really running Ohio State plays yet, on the scout team, right? But this is exciting to see. The defense looked great, and we've talked about this earlier in the show, and I want to reemphasize this. I'm really, really happy to see a defense that is coming out well. Kicking. We need to talk about kicking. It's a concern.
It's an extreme concern.
Kicking is the one element in a blue and gold game, and I'm not talking about the wind knocking the opening kickoff off the stand. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about actually kicking field goals. It is of concern. I think we were, what were we, like 2 of 4? I think we missed 2. It 2 of 5. We only hit 2.
Let me put it this way: at halftime, the students that were brought down to kick extra points had a better kicking percentage than the players on the field. 2 of the 3 students won tickets for the season. 66% better than what the team was.
Yeah. I don't. Did they win like free tuition for a semester?
No,
or what?
they just got tickets for every game. Apparently,
they're students. Don't they already get tickets for the game?
I mean, and we lottery.
Okay, well, when it's probably no. Students. It's like anyone can get it, right? Like I don't know. They keep building buildings. You know, we need a student to tell us what it's like now. You know, but when I was a student, you had to pay, right? And it was like severely discounted. It was like for me at the time, I think it was like $200 something for the whole season. And this is before e-ticketing, so everyone still had paper tickets. And what we had was a booklet. Imagine like what, and then what they would do is they would like tear off the top ticket, and then you would have the rest of your booklet. And every home game in the season was in that booklet, and so you would keep that. Now we figured out some other things you could do with it, but I won't go there. But that's one of the reasons why they went to e-ticketing, to kind of crack down on people sharing booklets. I'll just put it that way. What happened is you would have your booklet, and you would then sit in your appropriate section by class. And obviously they put seniors, you know, at like the 20-yard line, and then it was like seniors, juniors, I think grad students in the middle somewhere, and then like sophomores and freshmen were like, you know, behind the band right now. But yeah, the halftime bit was, you know, really funny with the kicking and all of that. So that was kind of fun. So,
the kickers absolutely are a concern. We need
it really
somebody who
is.
can actually,
And
like, you had different things where, okay, looks great, but they would shank to the right. Or they were line drives, and everything got pushed right. Very few went through. I think 1, 2 at the most. I think we were 2 for 5, 2 for 6, if I remember correct.
Well, and like,
but punting was just as bad.
Punting is weird because you got Chris Salerno, right? Who's, you know, he's Matt Salerno's brother, which is really funny. They're like 2 years apart from each other, right? 2-3 years apart, and you know, he's punting, and then I'm not happy seeing Matt Salerno return punts. Now, I also think, though, this is a conspiracy theory. That is not because Matt Salerno is awesome. It needs to be Tyree. Brandon Joseph was back there. He returned a punt once on one of the teams, so I don't know if this was like a blue-gold thing, you know, like swap. But Salerno, I'm pretty sure Chris Salerno was kicking all the punts, so it looks like he's going to be our punter at this point. I think Josh Bryan was one of our kickers, and then the other one is Blake Group, who's a transfer from Arkansas State, and he did not impress me at all, which is unfortunate. I think Josh Bryan is going to be our primary kicker because he was the number one kicker out of not this past recruiting class, but the previous one. He was behind Dorr all season. He didn't do a whole lot last year because Dorr was clearly more experienced. So look, to go from Yoon to Dorr, it really feels like we're tapering off on the kicking, and maybe that's not really an issue if we just score touchdowns, right? And then we just have to hit PATs. But let's face it, you do need to kick field goals. Mm-hmm. So that is one concern, and that is one thing that I think you can actually take as concrete evidence from the blue and gold game is the kicking game. If our punting is haphazard and it's not consistent, if our field goal kicking in, you know, dry, you know, sunny weather, it was a little breezy, but it wasn't terrible, right? You know, like that's the one thing that I think you seriously can take away from this.
I think the other side too is, especially when the staff was announced, and his name's escaping me right now, but the special teams coordinator
Brian Mason
spoke about, you know, not playing with fear, but definitely, you know, seeing what guys can do. Then, you know, I want to see, maybe it was just kind of an open forum of, you know, go out, catch a couple punt returns or try punting the ball, or, you know, just kind of open forum, let guys try to do different things. And so you saw, you know, somebody tried to slide and tackle and make the catch for the punt that got muffed and fumbled.
What the fuck was up with that play? Everyone was like 2 steps from booing. Like, you don't want to boo, but who was that? Like that's why I want to watch it on Peacock. I'm gonna make a note here.
I think
that surprises me if it was Matt Salerno. Who the fuck? You know, here, Dave just jumped on. Dave B just jumped on. Dave, question for you. We're gonna invite you to speak. Who the hell? I bet he does. Dave's gonna keep us really honest here. Dave, you've been invited to speak. Who the hell? I hope you're having a safe drive home. Who the hell made the sliding into home plate, try to fumble catch the stupid punt? You have to unmute yourself if you're there. Dave, hit the pink button. Oh, he might be like fucked up with his Bluetooth or something, and now he's like getting pulled over. He's like looking at his phone while driving home. He's getting pulled over
in the car yet. So
maybe he's in the car. I don't know.
Yeah.
And for everyone, Dave, we met Dave at the tailgate. Another loyal contributor to the Fighting Irish Faithful show. He works second shift in automotive, so support your American car companies or whatever. And Dave is probably on his way home here. We got to meet him for the first time at the tailgate, which was awesome. And I have to say this. So like Davis is sending me DMs. He's like, hey, where are you guys at? You know, because we got there about a half hour later than we wanted to originally. And we, I sent him the bat signal out, sent the location, and send to Dave, where we're at, and what we're at pole 38. And I'm at the grill and I'm flipping burgers, right, to feed myself, you, the doc, and Jason was already there. And Brandon hadn't showed up quite yet. Brandon Fry also, he had showed up at Biff_13.
And Craig.
Yeah, and Craig showed up as well, which was really awesome to see all these guys that we interact with on Twitter. All of them have called into the show, and they have been valuable, loyal contributors to this. But Dave, he's like, hey, I'm going to show up. I'm going to bring some beer, and you wanted to bring some cheese for burgers. Like, cool, we love it. And so I'm looking down the parking lot, and I see this man walking towards. I can tell he's got a blue polo on. He's carrying a case of beer, and he's walking towards us. And I just know, like, at that spidey sense, and I'm just pointing, and he puts his arms in the air, and we put our arms up in the air. I'm like, that's Dave. I've never met this man, and I know that is Dave.
Oh, from 50 yards away, it
was like 100 yards away.
It had the energy of Dave.
I just knew it was Dave. Dave, you got to unmute yourself. We are so excited to talk to you. Come on, speak. Gosh, like I'm ready to pour myself another bourbon here.
You better go do it now.
All right. This is what I'm gonna do. You're gonna talk about the blue and gold game. I'm gonna go top up my bourbon here, and when I get back, I expect you to be talking to Dave. So Dave, you need to unmute yourself. If you're on the freeway, pull your ass over, okay? Figure out your phone shit, get your priorities, right? Safely pull over, don't get a ticket, right? And all right, so I'm going to do that and come back. When I come back from pouring bourbon, I could have already done it at this point. All right,
go. We're always prepared. Just go. Okay, just go. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, no, it was a great time. It was so much fun seeing Dave. Just literally, the grin, the camaraderie. Oh my gosh, we actually sat with Dave the entire time for the green and gold game, going back and forth, different opinions. Of course, I think Dave was the one who started about middle of the third quarter the whole conspiracy theory about Buckner not playing because it's a gamesmanship move for Ohio State. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting play all the way around, but, yeah, Dave, unmute yourself if you're there, and ND Fanatics, if you are still there, please, you are also invited to speak. So unmute yourself if you would like to speak. But yeah, definitely we're looking forward to how the season goes, but oh my gosh, we were talking about the kickers. We were talking about Buckner, but Dave was definitely a character to have. So, Dave, I see you unmuted yourself. Go for it, my friend.
Yeah. There we go. Good. I got you on. Here we go, boys.
What's going on, gentlemen?
I
What's
just
happening?
get back from. Hey, Dave, I just want you to know I was not planning to do this, but now that you're on, I have re-topped up the bourbon here, so I'm excited to be talking to you.
Hey, it's awesome. Who we all got? Jason's on.
Yeah, we talked to Jason, Coach Barcigian, Kev let us off. We talked to some new people at ND Prime. Yep.
Here, I'm gonna do some. Hang on. I'm gonna try to get. It's not on Bluetooth. I'm gonna see if I can go back to Bluetooth like I did on Tuesday.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 2 hands. Please be safe.
Definitely want you driving safe on your
Yeah,
commute home.
yeah, you gotta drive home, man. It's late. I mean, I know your schedule is a little different from your average person here, but
no, I.
There you go. Now, loud and clear, sir.
I'm gonna turn my. I don't have you on Bluetooth, but now I'm just leaving work.
This just illustrates how this show is so fan centric that we're willing to pause to allow someone like Dave to get
Bluetooth.
sorted with it in his car, coming home from work kind of situation. You know, he works late. That's fine. Like, that is what this show is all about. Like, if you call, like, I don't want to call anyone out specifically just to be rude, but the average person where other people have contributed, they don't do this. They are not flexible like this. So anyone who's new to the show, who listens to us, you know, like, yeah, it's kind of intimidating, you know, with these regulars that we have, and that's fine. But look, talk to Jason Yeager, right? My wife and baby we're average guys. We're very approachable, very friendly people, right? You know, people come to the tailgate. I expect nothing but kindness and fellowship, and that's it. Someone like Dave, who we spent the entire day pretty much with Dave, and it was absolutely wonderful just talking Notre Dame football, hanging out, just meeting him. You know, it was great. It's what I want this show to be. Is not just me talking and, oh, look how knowledgeable I am about Notre Dame football, and I'm, you know, and running the greatest podcast known to man. Like, we want to have a good show, we want to have a good podcast, but I'm more interested in, Dave, what you think. I'm more interested in your opinion,
and I'm also interested to hear how sore your daughter was that you were there and enjoyed the whole game.
She was mad. I called her on the way home, and she goes, "Dad, I thought you were going to go watch the Cubs game." And I'm like, I said, "I'll wait until you get done with your classes in your home with your mom, and then you and I will go together instead of me going there." But because I told her I met you and your brother and your wife and your son and the rest of the guys that were there on Saturday, which was a fantastic time. I mean, it was great meeting people, the fellowship we had, the stuff that we have in common. I mean, it was just, I didn't want the day to end. It was so much fun. And I think that overall, we were talking, I heard you saying something about my conspiracy theory. I still think
that is what we're titling this show. It is our, I will admit, you know, like, it's a little clickbaity of us, but we do think there is some gamesmanship afoot here. I mean, granted, it's a practice, right? So take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. But we are titling this show "Blue and Gold Game Conspiracy Theories."
I think because you know what? I tried looking for Buckner on the far sideline, and he was supposed to have a boot on, and I was looking, and I never saw somebody with a boot on over on the other side. I don't know about you, Joe, or your brother Mike. I don't know, or Jason. I don't know. I never seen him on the sideline.
Yeah, I'll be very honest with you. I didn't actually look for Buckner at all.
I did. I was trying to see if I could see him, because I figured he'd be on our home side. Because, I mean, I think we all would have seen him if he was on the side that we were on, the visitor side, as close as we were to the sideline. I think we would have definitely noticed it was him. But I tried looking across, and I couldn't see him. And he might have been there,
but I just, never got a glimpse of him. So.
Yeah, I mean, I again, when it was set in stone that he was not going to be playing and not going to be in there, to me Buckner was kind of a moot or something. So I was not looking for him. Jason, sorry, I tried to bring you on. I think I accidentally clicked you off, so sorry. Still not proficient at the Twitter space here. Was trying to bring you on. I think I accidentally clicked you off. My brother's trying to bring you back on here. But yeah, the Buckner not playing, that was pretty evident. So I was kind of more interested in who we're going to see on the field. What's your opinion, Dave, of Drew Pine?
Your brother and I talked about this quite a bit during the game. Mike and I were like, he's putting so much pressure on himself instead of being the quarterback that we saw that played an amazing game against Wisconsin. Here he is. He's basically, this job could be a lot closer if I have a great game on Saturday and impress everybody. Maybe this competition will be a lot closer than what people actually really think. And it wasn't until the second half, I believe it was, wasn't it, Mike, when he ran that read option and he kept the ball and went up, and then it just seemed like as soon as that happened, he started to relax. He was throwing a better ball, and everything was kind of falling into place for him. Not like it was in the first two quarters where he was thrown into double and triple coverage and getting picked. So I honestly, I don't know if that's going to hurt him by what he did in those first two quarters, or what do you go by? With the Wisconsin game, actual game, where you're playing against a very good Wisconsin defense.
Very good defense, arguably one of the best in the country last year.
Yes, they were. They were in the top 5. So why? I don't know what we should actually put on what we saw, us guys that were there, saw him do.
That's a really good point there, Dave, is that we're comparing Drew Pine in a situation where we're not actually like this is not a game time, right? So we're comparing him in a vacuum here in the blue and gold game, which is a glorified practice. But the actual game experience we have of him, i.e. Wisconsin, is a really good metric. Now, here's the thing, though. The problem is that's one game out of all 13 that we had last year, and we didn't see him in hardly any of the others. So, and let's face it, the reason why he was in is because Buckner was injured going into that game. And I don't remember the particulars, but Pine comes in, I think because Cone got banged up, and so then Pine comes in and then takes it and runs it. But let's also not forget that Pine was successful. Yes, he had a couple of good plays, but the defense really won that game. The defense had 2 pick sixes. Tyree had a touchdown return after Wisconsin had taken the lead going into the fourth quarter. Okay. And immediately shut the crowd up, and Notre Dame took the momentum, and Tyree took the momentum with him, with Gus Johnson yelling, exciting shit right here. And
yes, he did. Yeah, he did.
And that is why we won that game. So it's not like this is a situation where, like go back to 2012. In 2012, you had a situation where Everett Golson, his helmet comes off, or wink, wink, nod, nod. We have to go through some concussion protocol, and Kelly is trotting out Tommy Reese as kind of this like quarterback closer, like it's like a pitcher in baseball, right? And he is coming out here to win the game to beat fucking Purdue, right? that's the kind of stuff that's going on. So that's kind of, interesting where we don't have that situation going on with Drew Pine. It's not like we were down and he threw this like come from behind touchdown.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something to think about, that should we really put a whole lot of impact on Drew Pine based off the one game in Wisconsin, which everyone's putting at. But let's face it, the rest of the year, we didn't see him. There's probably a reason behind that.
I wish I knew it, because he came into the Wisconsin game. They didn't ask him to come in against a team like them, and he managed the game well while he was in. There was no problem when he was in there, and then we don't see him ever again. Now, we don't know what happened behind closed doors, or something might have happened where, maybe he got in the doghouse and he wasn't able to get out of it. I'm thinking to myself, why doesn't he get a series? I think he earned a series playing against the best defense we played against all season long.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, through the summer. I think, it's one of those situations where us as fans, we're not in the meetings. We don't see him in practice. Yeah. We don't see how he's progressing on all these other things. And clearly there's more to the quarterback situation, with anything from how the line is playing, because they're clearly working the kinks out in that. We saw them rotating guys at tackle and whatnot, in the stands. With Heastand coming back in and trying to reset the line. And then you've got the receiver issue, which we've been talking about, how you got receivers that, we're trying to pull everybody in to be as impactful as we possibly can. There's good stuff that needs to happen with both of those groups. And then, of course, you've got the situational awareness depending on where you are against your opponent. What is their defensive situation? What coverage are they in? Where are their strengths, weaknesses, right? And then, who is able to read said defense and execute from a playbook perspective. We as fans do not have that insider approach, that insider perspective that people like Tommy Rees and Marcus Freeman have.
No, we don't. I want to get your guys' take that's seen the game, that Angeli at times showed that he was a freshman, and at times showed me he was a 4-year veteran. He's a big kid. He's got a nice arm. I know in the fourth quarter he wasn't going up against very many of our first defensive guys, and I understand that. But I think the kid's got some tools in his toolbox. I really do. It'll be interesting with him and what they plan on doing with him. Because you got to think about this, guys. We're 2 plays away from him being a starting quarterback.
You're not wrong when you say that.
2 plays. Just like that. There we got a true freshman or Ron Paulus III.
Ooh.
Which he's nothing like his father was. I'm not a knock on him, but his dad could throw the football just as good as anybody we've ever had.
Snowball. Absolutely.
So
you have to give your the best thing about if you're running scout team is you getting a ton of experience running just playing football, period, right? You may not be running like our playbook, but you are getting out there, you're kind of being abused, right? But you have a distinct role on the football team to help our football team as a whole be better and be prepared to beat our opponent.
Yeah.
If we stay true to the mission, which is beat Ohio State, I don't care if you're the one scoring touchdowns or if you're running scout team plays. You have a role to play that is a valuable contribution to this team. One clearly has more glory and press and excitement to it than the other, but let's face it, all is necessary, right? And whether you're, not on first shift and getting shunned and treated like gold like the guys on first shift, that's I'm glad you got where I was going with that, Dave. I work in manufacturing too, so but that's my point, right? Like you don't need to. Not everyone can be the starter, and not everyone will be the starter.
No.
And that's something that and that doesn't mean you just give up and you just embrace, as you said, you're 2 plays away.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, looking at our quarterback room, if that would happen, Angeli's got to be ready, because I don't know if they'd play Paulus in front of him, because I think Angeli's got more tools than what the Paulus kid has.
Well, and we talked about this earlier.
I'm going to have Angeli take reps with the first and second group. Because, like I said, if there's 2 plays, guys, and we've seen this a million times over the years at the college level, the pro level, high school, where boom, boom, guy, your first 2 guys are done, and all of a sudden you're playing a freshman quarterback in high school. Kid's 15 years old. He's out there crapping his pants and, out in the field because he's going to get ready to get mowed down. I mean, he needs to be ready, because Buckner got hurt last year, not once, but I think twice, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right on that, or am I wrong?
I know in the Va Tech game, he kind of did this weird jump thing and messed up his ankle from that.
Did he get hurt in the Wisconsin game too?
Yeah, and the Wisconsin game, prior to the Wisconsin game, he was hurt, so he couldn't come in for that. So, and let's not forget that in high school he had an injury as well.
Yeah, a knee surgery. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's why I said, that's why Dante Moore or another quarterback with him. I mean, it would have been sweet if we could have got both the guys that we wanted to get. But the other one's now at Clemson. And now we're putting all the eggs in the basket like we did for Will Shipley. I just pray that we can get Dante Moore, because if we get Dante Moore, we're getting Carnell Tate with him. He's going to come, and then we'll have 2 of the top 10 receivers in that class at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's still kind of, on the Dante Moore, situation and hoping that he joins Notre Dame. We'll see about that. That's not really what tonight's about, but
No.
something else, and it's kind of
Darian Price, the freshman.
Yeah, we talked about him as being one of the most impactful guys. One thing I wanted to ask you, Dave, and we haven't talked about this yet, is Michael Mayer. What's your impression, or lack thereof impression? Because we didn't really see him a whole lot on Saturday.
Well, your brother hit the nail on the head. He's like, they'll probably give him a few targets. And I tell you what, if I'm not mistaken, they targeted him because he played a little bit in the second half, in the third quarter, and after that, then they took him out. But right. Mike was saying, and I would agree. I wasn't expecting to see him in the third quarter. I figured he'd be done.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think you're right. to be in there. Honestly, I looking at his demeanor on the sideline, which was our sideline, I think he wanted to be in there catching some passes and running and having a good time, because that's what he loves the game, and he makes it look easy. And I think Mike hit it, on the head. It's like, well, would you have him out there, Dave? And I go, not really. I wouldn't. No. I would have had him in the first quarter, and he'd have been done. He'd have been on the sideline on pom-poms and everything else.
Right. Like in the third, fourth quarter, Dave, you and I are sitting next to each other, and we're talking, about the running game, and I'm #RTD being my fist bump, and beating my chest here, and, basically excited about our running game, and Estime is in there just tearing it up and just getting yards, and you're just like, why is he still in there? And I'm like, no, I want to see him play.
I wanted to see him play too, but you know what? I mean, give Darian Price some more time. Give him some more carries. Let him, keep the big fella healthy. I mean, because I'm going to tell you what, that kid's going to play in the game on September 3rd. I'm telling you that right now. Darian Price will get some plays in that game down at the shoe on September 3rd.
I really hope that's the case, because, I mean, let's think of it this way. Look at our our running back situation. You got Logan Diggs, Chris Tyree, Estime, and Price now.
Yeah.
All four of those guys. Like, would you be disappointed if any one of those four guys had the ball? I certainly wouldn't.
No.
I'm excited with all of them. Is there a way we could get all four of them on the field? You probably would have 0 running backs and go double tight.
You could get 3. You could get 3. You could put Chris Tyree in the
Wildcat.
Diggs and Estime in the backfield.
If Buckner's injured, then all four are on. If we're running some sort of crazy Wildcat thing,
with Bo Bauer as the lead blocker.
Oh, don't talk to me. Did we see much from Bo Bauer? Is he even on the roster still? I don't even know. Gosh,
Who?
Bo Bauer.
I believe he's there.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's there.
He's got to be there, right?
And his sisters were sitting to the left of us during the game on Saturday.
Yeah, no, he's still there. Yeah, no, he's a grad student. So he's in his last year of eligibility. Yeah, it was probably one of those situations where he didn't see a whole lot of the field again to get the younger guys there. But yeah,
I'll tell you what,
I'm still holding out for the sharp hockey skate package, Bo Bauer package.
Yeah, I mean, he can be, if he has a good year like he did last year, because the guy he flies all over the place. He would make a hell of a special teams player in the NFL. He can make a living for about 10 years by just playing on special teams and have a nice career by just playing on special teams for somebody, the right team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
and I want to bring up Jaden Thomas, the redshirt freshman receiver from Georgia.
Absolutely. That was the other one that you and I were talking about at the end of the game.
This kid could be another McKinley. Remember, McKinley didn't shine until he was a senior. Yeah.
You know what? My first season with McKinley is we played bagpipes for him when he had a good game. That was season 2.
But he reminds me of him, and he is a redshirt freshman. Big kid out of Georgia, 6'2", 6'3", and he made some nice plays on Saturday.
Jaden Thomas, number 83. That's correct.
Yeah. I think he should be another one that should play some on September 3rd with his height. He'll be a mismatch with them undersized DBs because their DBs aren't very big in Columbus. They're 5'10", 5'11". They're not their 6'1" or 6'2" variety that they usually have. They're not in the same ballpark. And while we're talking about that, some of the young DBs that we had that made some plays on Saturday was very nice to see. These freshmen, sophomore kids, incoming kids out there making plays.
So
which was nice.
Dave, one other question I had, and we'll start to wrap this up because we're over 2 hours in, and I do have to drive Red Snapper here to the airport tomorrow morning. What is your impression of Steve Angeli? Because I think that's kind of how the blue and gold game ended. It ended on a very, very high, very positive note, very optimistic note. And I kind of want to get your impression, and I know we talked about it at the tailgate, but share with the world your thought of Steve Angeli.
I think he could be a starting quarterback for us, given the right timing. And I don't know if that's going to be the answer, but I think the kid has those tools in his box. I mean, big kid. I mean, a nice size. I didn't realize he was that big.
Yeah, he reminds me of a kind of a, I don't want to say Dane Chris, but
yeah,
he has some build to him.
He was bigger than Dane Chris.
Yes.
So, and he can run, as we saw for that long touchdown run to win the game. He's got some wheels, so it's not like, if he leaves the pocket, he's going to be like Jack Cohn, with a 1,000-pound refrigerator on his back and a couple of monkeys and everything else on there as well, kind of tagged along. So, No, the kid has the tool. He wasn't a 4 or 5-star quarterback, one of the better ones in the nation last year for nothing. And I saw some of that in All-Star game on NBC with the All-American game. I watched him. He looked pretty good. But at times, yes, on Saturday, he looked like he was a freshman, but he's got some tools. There's stuff for Tommy Rees to work with. Yeah. And I think he would be a good quarterback. And like I said, we're 2 plays and all of a sudden, whoops, here we go. We got a true freshman coming in. Is he prepared? Yeah, he's going to have to be. Will he take the challenge? I think he will.
My confidence in him as being at this point, a potential second or even third string guy, is significantly higher. I was curious about him going to this game. Like, all right, I want to see Angeli. I want to see what he can do. He showed up. He I think took the opportunity to him. He was not afraid of the environment. I mean, granted, it's a blue and gold game. It's not an actual game, right? And it's certainly not a place like the Horseshoe down in Columbus. All right, so let's be very realistic about this. But simultaneously, with the opportunity that was before him, I think he was successful in delivering something positive. And look, and one thing I want to make note of, like, it's one thing to watch someone do what they did, but to watch a true freshman, do what he did at the end of the game, take the ball, reach, hit the pylon, and then watch the entire team like basically tackle him on the sideline as a response, coaches included.
Oh, absolutely. I think he had fun with it too, and you could tell by just his composure. He looked more relaxed than Pine did. He looked, honestly, it looked like he was getting through his progressions better than Pine was. Yeah. And maybe that is just a sheer mechanics of he's 6'2", almost 6'3", and can see over the offensive line where Pine can't. But I think it looked like he was having more fun with it. And maybe he didn't have the pressure of the expectations of, I'm going for the starting job.
Yeah, he is taller than Pine.
Yeah.
By like 3 inches.
By 3 inches. And that I think was the
3 or 4. I think 6'4", 6'4", 6'5", Angeli is.
The roster lists him as 6'2", and they list Pine as 5'11". So
he's bigger than 6'2".
Yeah. So who knows? But it's all about, for me. Look, if you're a quarterback, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I'll reemphasize this. Quarterback, Notre Dame, you got to be big man on campus. You got to have swag. And he had the swag in that game. Paulus did not have it. Drew Pine, who had it in Wisconsin, did not have it in this game. And Angeli, gets, look, who was being interviewed at the end of the game? Price and Angeli. 2 freshmen. Freshmen were being interviewed by NBC at the end of the game, right? So that's what I'm talking about. If you're a recruit and you've got, you got a little bit of a, swag and attitude behind you,
4 and 5 star,
as you probably deserve,
Absolutely.
Right? Because you're gifted as an athlete. If you see these other guys, a year or two ahead of you, and they're being interviewed by NBC and being seen all over the world, shit, like that's the kind of stuff you're like, well, damn, and you kind of have a little chip on your shoulder.
They
and you're
actually got in and play.
like,
They
hey, I'm good.
Out. They got to show their stuff. Absolutely.
And that's the kind of stuff I think the blue and gold game can be successful in promoting. To see Angeli and Price be successful, man, like that's good stuff for our football program going forward.
Well, and it's also good stuff having that. It's good stuff having that future of Notre Dame football connected to the past, the alums, the guys that are in the NFL, making those connections. Like you said, if some of the recruits were there for the 22, 23 classes, let them see that connection from the ones that are, the ones that will be, and the ones that were in, playing football at Notre Dame Stadium wearing the gold helmet. I think that is a huge proponent. And I think you saw a lot more cohesion as the Notre Dame football family this last weekend.
Yeah. My buddy is an usher there at Notre Dame. I talked to him on Saturday night. He called me. He goes, Dave, all those guys you've seen that they were introducing out on the field, all the guys from the 88 team and 93 and all the other guys that were there, when Freeman at the beginning, before the game even started, I'm not sure where they take all the recruits and their parents, and the coaches talk with them and so forth. Well, as soon as Freeman got done talking, he walked out, and in went every single alumni to talk with their parents.
That's awesome.
Now, let's talk about that for a minute.
I think
talk about Jerome Benson there, Aaron Taylor, and all those guys that were there in there talking to recruits that might come and play for Notre Dame, with those guys in there talking to them and their families.
I think I had seen something like this on Twitter where they showed kind of this, like, just people having conversations, and they're showing, the alum and, these guys from past teams and, kind of well-known players. And then, you got the recruits in there. I think Marcus is doing exactly what he knows to. He knows exactly what he's doing. And we talked about this earlier in the podcast, tonight, about how he is working on recruiting. He's trying to create a connection of the past to the present to the future, and bring in the old, the legacy players, the legendaries, people like Dalen Hayes, who got recognized, people like Aaron Taylor, who got recognized, and guys that have been very valuable, to Notre Dame as a whole. Even someone like Malik Zaire, who has a very special place in my heart, and who I would love to at some point, to talk on this show, if he wants to call in, that would be awesome. But my point is, like I think Coach Freeman is doing exactly what he knows he needs to do in today's era. You've got these big guys, big recruits that are coming in, and you need to bring them into the fold. And what a better way to bring them in than to have Aaron Taylor, someone who is just inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, to talk to a recruit, who's an O-line or D-line or whatever, even though Aaron Taylor was a tackle. But, that's my point. Like, hey, yeah, I was from this town and I came here and this was, and have that kind of personal touch, personal experience. Like, yeah, these were my concerns, but when I came in and Notre Dame and, this is what my experience was. And, wow, and then if you're the parent of said recruit, you see this, these guys are, and any parent wants their child to be successful, and you see an Aaron Taylor, you see, it doesn't matter who it is, they're coming back and people love them, and they see this community and they see the support system and on and on and on. And it's like, do you get that at other universities? I don't know, because I don't follow other universities, but
Kelly never did that at all. I guarantee he's not doing what Marcus Freeman is doing right now. Because he didn't recruit, like, with him recruiting defense the first time, getting the guys he's got, He's got one of the best edge rushers coming in next year. Number one edge rusher in the whole country. I mean, think about this. I mean, the guys we just got a kid that committed on Saturday. The kid for the offensive lineman from North Carolina came down to North Carolina State, Clemson, and Notre Dame, and he committed to us on Saturday. Sam Pendleton.
That's awesome to see. Well, hey, Dave, we've got a new person we want to bring on here real quick. We're about an hour and 15, hour 20 in. Dave, we really appreciate you chiming in tonight. Nick, I see you. I see you've requested to speak. We'll get to you in a second. Dave, last final thoughts before we get Nick, and we're gonna give Nick the last couple minutes here. Dave, final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts. It was a wonderful weekend. I loved meeting you guys. You know, Joe and Mike and Jason and all the guys, and your wife and your little one. I had a wonderful time. This is a great thing that your guys are doing. It is fun meeting guys from different parts of the country and talking about football, especially Notre Dame football, or just life in general. So we had a great time. Mike, have a great and safe flight back to L.A.
Thank you, sir.
Always get that Irish stuff out in L.A. and walk around, especially if you go down by USC.
With the amount of money you just dropped at the bookstore, you'll be.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, you've got some new gear you're gonna be wearing at work and around.
The landing,
town.
In LA will be a little bit softer because my pockets are a little bit lighter. Let's put it that way.
That's right.
Yeah, have a safe flight. Joe, just let me know. We'll all stay in touch here on Twitter.
Yeah.
We're gonna be in there.
Yeah, I'll stay active on Twitter. I didn't give it up for Lent, but I mean, for anyone else, we will go dark in the summer. This is the last show we're gonna do prior to August. Just because there's not a whole lot going on, and I got other stuff going on in life. But wanted to definitely do a couple shows for. Twitter. Yeah, we'll be on Twitter. We'll whatever stuff, and like. Let's put it this way. If something crazy happens in the off season that warrants a show, we will be on. But if it's a normal, quote unquote, normal, boring off season, and we want it to be boring, we don't want eventful things like the Fulton County 5 where people are being arrested. If that kind of shit's going down, then we may have to do a show. But if that is not happening and we just have normal practice and things of that nature, we probably won't come back until August. So that's what we're leaning towards. Just because it's hard for me to bring the same passion and energy when we're not playing. And again, this show is normally driven by scotch and spreadsheets, but in the spring, Kentucky Derby is around the corner. This is when we switch over to bourbon because it's got more of a spring, kind of vibe to it. So, Dave, thanks for your contributions tonight. We're gonna bring Nick on here, and he's gonna drive safely home.
Mike, have a good trip tomorrow, brother.
Thank you, sir.
All right, cheers. Go Irish.
Irish, go Irish, baby.
All right, that was Dave, DB at Dave Bzovi, BZOVI, very loyal supporter, and it was fun meeting Dave at the tailgate on Saturday. We've invited Nick. Nick, you're gonna wind us down and close us out tonight. Bring the passion, bring the fire. If you want to just come in and scream F Michigan, you go ahead and do that. But Nick, welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show. Last episode before we really kick it into high gear going into the season in August. Nick.
Thank you for having me, guys. With Michigan, they haven't been doing too much on the recruiting trail recently. But yeah, getting back to what Dave was talking about with the whole alumni network this past weekend. I don't know if you guys saw the name tags that the alumni all had on. They had their years that they were at Notre Dame, the years in which they played in the NFL, and they also had their current businesses on there as well, which I thought was very interesting to show like,
look at that.
Yep. Yeah, so that goes a long way as well. And Monroe Freeling, who's a tackle from South Carolina, he mentioned the first thing he said was how important it was that Aaron Taylor was there, and how the past offensive linemen were raving about Harry Heastand as well, which I think says a lot as well.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So Nick, this is the first time you're on the show. Welcome to the show. Tell the world your Twitter handle. I just sent you a Twitter follow there. What's your Twitter handle for the world to know?
Yes, my Twitter handle is NT2697.
NT2697. Okay, awesome. Well, so how did you hear about the show? Do you just like scrolling on Twitter on a Monday night, or you just,
Yeah, I believe I follow a few of you guys. I was scrolling through Twitter, and I mean, with everything going on with Notre Dame, the momentum's just through the roof. I've been a diehard fan forever. I get to most, if not all, home games. I'm from Chicagoland area,
right on,
so
right on.
Yeah, just the momentum's through the roof, and I love talking Notre Dame football with a few other Irish faithful.
That's exactly what we want this show to be. We want it to be very fan centric, and we're not just gonna like obviously I want to hear your opinion. I want to hear people like Dave's opinion, Coach Barsegian, my brother, right? But we will bring. Now, is this the first show you've listened to, or
I've listened to a few. This is the first one I've spoken on. Yes.
Okay. Right on. Well, we're happy to join you, and this is what we want. We want to bring new people on, give the average Notre Dame, well, not the average Notre Dame fan, because they may not be standing in the stadium and yelling, things. But no, we want passionate Notre Dame fans on this show and give them the opportunity to speak their mind, and so we can talk about the football team and the university that we all love, because that is what we want. So, Nick, what do you want to talk about with regards to the blue and gold game?
My favorite thing about the blue and gold game, well, the thing that stood out to me the most was the linebacker play. The linebacker play, it seems
look at that, bringing the defense on.
That's exactly what I said too. So
yeah, the linebackers, they can go, seems 2 to 3 deep, and what really stands out to me is they're SEC quality linebackers. They can go sideline to sideline. They're vertical. They can hit. They can come down to the box. They can make plays in coverage. I'm thoroughly impressed with the defense in which Al Golden put out there.
Yes.
I'm going to give a shout out to Wookie, who said that the linebacker play was definitely going to improve because of Al Golden. So definitely at Wookie. Yeah, I definitely saw that.
He has a bias because he's a Bengals fan.
Well,
you'd realize this,
okay,
right?
so
he's not wrong, but I think that's more of a coincidence than.
But yeah, leaving the blue and gold game, I said the same thing. The linebackers look great.
I said that in the first quarter. I was like, man, the defense looks amazing.
We were all kind of schizophrenic because it was like, you bum, you threw another pick, but hey, defense, great pick, nice job.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of different.
Yay. On one side, I'm sad. On one side, I'm really happy. What's that thing? It's like
bipolar disorder.
Well, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to be a little more artistic about it, where like in drama, like they have the masks, like they have the mask that's like smiling.
Satire, yeah.
And then there's the mask that's like sad. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe.
Comedy and tragedy.
I'm sure Nick is a scholarly individual, as he's from Chicago, right?
Yes, I do not know the exact term you're speaking of, but yeah.
Nick clearly was not a drama major.
No, far from it.
Far from it. Oh, you were a scientist, an engineer?
He was a statistics guy.
Put you on the spot. No, it's fine, Nick. Yeah, you don't have to tell us your details here, but unless you really want to. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. No, the linebackers, that was really excited to see. It was really excited to see, Jalen Sneed coming out and doing his thing. It was really great to see even Brandon Joseph, our transfer from Northwestern.
Yep. He transferred from he is ball hawking safety. I really expect him not to necessarily fill the gap in which Kyle Hamilton left, because they aren't necessarily the same type of players. But if he can elevate the other safety position to a much higher level than it's been the past few seasons, that itself can do wonders for the team.
Yeah, no, we definitely need a strong defensive play. We need strong safety play, especially going against Ohio State. Someone, like CJ Stroud, who's clearly a very dynamic weapon that Ohio State has. They just destroyed, Utah in the Rose Bowl to win that game, and we must have a good. We need to have something good coming out.
You have to have
some
plan to stop that offense.
And we won't go into the whole horseshoe Ohio State thing tonight.
No,
but because we just won't do that to ourselves right now. Right now, we just want to talk about
a lot can
team.
change before then.
I think a lot will change as well. And we'll have some Ohio State centric shows. I've already committed that we will have a Tyler Buckner exclusive show coming up in the future, just because I think it's necessary and warranted. And we're probably going to make a T-shirt now with name, image, and likeness. I'm not so sure how I'm going to do that, but I'll probably just have to reach out to him and be like, "Hey, man, do you want a shirt and shit like that?"
Yeah,
soon to come, right? It's one of those situations like we'll just figure it out as we go.
I definitely am going to tack on to the linebacker play because I was looking to see how Jack Kaiser was going to be. Was he going to be consistent? Was he going to have a little bit more pop to him? And I got everything I was looking for. He had a quicker step. He looked stronger, and he was definitely around the ball for the first couple of series he was in.
Yeah, I mean, Kaiser's also a bigger body, so that's definitely going to help. He's another guy that he can go sideline to sideline. He's a sure tackler, and the other thing I like with our linebacker core, we bring back a lot of experience. Bo Bowers played a lot of football. Bertrand's played a lot of football. Kaiser's played a lot of football. Maris Liafu has played a good amount of considerable football. It's really
nice to see Maris Liafu returning and contributing in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys saw that when he had that interception, Coach Freeman wasn't too happy with him for the celebration, but I mean, it's great to see him back and excited.
Yeah, he is, I think, one of the most underrated guys in the defense that I think can be electric and really contribute to the team. I'm not saying he's like captain material, but he does have the tools and the physical abilities to be a strong impact.
Yeah, he's a ball of fire out there, and that's really what you want at the linebacker position. Someone who's just going to play with kind of like a chicken with their head cut off.
Yeah, that's right. So Nick, I'm looking at your background here. I have to ask. I see you've got like Reese and Freeman and various other guys. It looks like in the coaching staff with their faces photoshopped in. Is this like Young Guns or what is this like? You got like a Western.
Tombstone.
Is that's
Tombstone?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not sure if you guys follow the page 1 Foot Down, but Jude Seymour he makes a bunch of photoshops, and that was right after Kelly departed.
Oh, interesting. Okay, right on. Yeah, yes. No, I'm very familiar with 1 Foot Down. They're one of my more favorite blogs that ND Nation links. People like Jude and Josh and those guys there. The Subway Domer, Josh. Yeah. 1 Foot Down is pretty good. Now, I will give Jude a little bit of shit because he buys mugs of undefeated season prior to the bowl game. So I will give him a little bit of a jab there where I have given him a little crap. Now, like if it like someone bought it for him, like say your grandma buys you a mug. Yeah, I'm making this up. I have no idea if this was what happened. And I don't want to be rude or mean, but it's like, and I'm also not going to tell someone what to do with their money, right? That's your money. You earned it. The government didn't take it, right? You spend it however the hell you want, right? Within reason, right? As long as it's nothing immoral or illegal, right? You want to buy a Notre Dame undefeated mug, okay, you do you. Like, I'm kind of more anti, damn it, Notre Dame, why are you putting
anti-jinxing?
Well, it's not even a jinx. It's just more like we still have
sell it after the season.
It's more like what the fuck? We still have a game to play. Why are you? Why are you, printing? It's like in 2012, they printed undefeated shirts prior to the season being over. It's like, no, there's still a game against Alabama. We got boat race. Like, and we don't have to get all negative tonight, but I'm just like, okay, why would you buy mug that says undefeated season. Like if that's how you want to remember the season, that's fine. But it's like, again, it doesn't really like that's like saying like Kelly was this great coach at Notre Dame. Yeah, he went undefeated 3 times at Notre Dame, but it's like, yeah, all 3 of those seasons, nothing good happened at the end. You know, the game that really mattered, right? So, again, that's another thing that distinguishes this show from others. It's like, number one, we are committed to excellence because the University of Notre Dame is committed to excellence. 2, we bring scotch and spreadsheets. Now, again, it's spring. We have, there's a little asterisk here for
there's
bourbon.
Limited stats.
Yeah, there's limited stats too because it's a practice, right? But so scotch and spreadsheets in the normal season, we go full on, bring it on, right? But we are going to analyze Notre Dame relative to teams that are holding up the trophy. Because why? Not to be negative, because we want us to be there. We're going to criticize Notre Dame when they print undefeated fucking shirts and mugs and God knows whatever else that the bookstore is selling that people are fucking buying. And again, you do what you want with your money. But it's like, why are you selling that shit? Are you selling that shit because you're really happy about that or because you just want to make money because, people are going to buy it because you're making it? Like, it's kind of a circular logic thing. Okay, I feel like I'm getting angry and negative. Nick, you didn't buy an undefeated shirt, did you? I didn't just alienate you, right?
No, I didn't. I did not.
I guess it'd be, I don't want to say it's okay if you did, but it's like, I won't, maybe I should eat my words here. Well, okay. So Nick, look, we're about 2.5 hours in. It's pretty late here. Any final thoughts on the blue and gold game? And we're going to shut this down till the summer.
Final thoughts. Defense looked great. We need to find ourselves a kicker and protect Michael Mayer at all costs.
I'm okay with both of those thoughts as well. Nick, I really appreciate you jumping on here at the end here at NT269er7. Did I get that right?
Correct.
Excellent. Nick, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Fighting Irish Faithful show. Our last live contributor to the podcast prior to, spring, if we go to Culver, if we're just going to be running around and having Camp Bayless or whatever the team is doing in August. Probably early August, we will return and get ready for the season. So, Nick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
All right.
You
thank
too.
you. And go Irish. Red Snapper, it's been a good show. It's been a good spring. I think there's a lot of upside to this team. I think the Dante Moore situation is still out there, but
I think you're right. That's not going to happen until National Signing Day.
I really don't. At this point, like it's either going to happen really quickly at the beginning of the season before the season starts, or it's not going to happen until National Signing Day. And I think it's because he wants to see how the season pans out. And let's face it, if you're a recruit and you're looking at where can I get good playing time, there will be chips that will fall in said season in
Absolutely.
2022. And you want to know, okay, if I got it narrowed down to these 3 schools and, I'm holding my cards close to my chest, where can I get the most playing time? Where can I be impactful? Also, let's not kid ourselves. Where's the trajectory of the team? And I've said this before, and it's not to be negative. It's just reality. It's fact. Marcus Freeman has coached very, very little as a head coach. Yes, he's doing all these wonderful things with recruits. He's doing wonderful things with recruiting. He's bringing the alum in. This is everything he is supposed to be doing, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, you have to play another team. If he loses to fucking Cal at home, right, there will be a completely different mood on this podcast and other teams, right? And that's not to be negative.
Our expectations for Ohio State are tempered versus other games through the season.
Right.
We think we should win based off of what we've gotten used to with Brian Kelly for the last couple of years. So
right. And so we feel that, let's not forget, he's in his first season as a head coach. And so if Dante Moore is gonna, let me put it another way. If Dante Moore was my son and I have a son, I'm a dad, and he is a fantastic quarterback, I won't tell him to go to Michigan because I hate that place, or USC or Miami. I hate those 3 teams. But most other schools, I would be interested in having a conversation. Probably not LSU just because of Kelly. But what I will say is this. If I'm looking at what's best for my son, I want him to be successful. If Marcus Freeman is maybe not as successful as some other coach at some other program, that should be a consideration. Again, we don't want to end the show on a negative note. This is just reality. This is something that we must embrace and must recognize going into the season. So we'll see how the Dante Freeman things goes over the summer. If something crazy happens, we may do Dante Moore, Dante/Marcus Freeman situation. Who knows? Things to come from that. That's kind of the situation right now in the off season, that I can only expect us to come back for another show prior to August. Other than that, that's kind of where we're at. So, Red Snapper, final thoughts on the blue and gold game? Any other final conspiracies you want to drop in?
Not really a conspiracy, just a tradition that I've started, kind of like Jason. I got a shirt. I loved it. I guess I'm coming back next year for the blue and gold game and getting another shirt and doing this with you again. I'd like to make it a family tradition. So
you could just move out of California and move to Indiana. There is a reason why I send you like Zillow, houses
around the corner
in my neighborhood, right? Like, hey, this house is for sale. Yeah,
exactly.
So, I mean, you do you, right, brother? But I am happy you've come out. This is the 3rd time you've come out in less than a year to Indiana, and I really appreciate that. So thank you, brother. Not to make our listeners uncomfortable here, but no, this has been wonderful. You coming out, for my son's baptism, your nephew, coming out for the Navy game, which was a ton of fun, tailgating, and then coming out now for the spring game. All 3 times, the common theme is also not only family, but it's just hanging out and just, doing the brother thing, but also Notre Dame football. And so that's kind of the theme of this show is we are the Fighting Irish faithful. We are faithful to our football team, a team we all love. And it's really great to meet up with people like Dave, people like Kevin, people like Brandon Fry, Jason Yeager. And Jason, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. You're probably hearing this in the podcast version. I meant to try to bring you back on, and I accidentally clicked you off and maybe temporarily blocked you. So maybe that's a feature on Twitter Spaces that Elon Musk is going to have to fix. That now it looks like he's taken over Twitter. So, but anyway, sorry, Jason. That was totally my bad, fat finger here on the phone here. So sorry about that. Red Snapper, any other thoughts about the team going into the summer? Let me put it another way. What advice would you give this team or the players going into the summer?
Honestly, I liked the energy, especially the way the game ended. So feed off that energy, that hunger, that enjoyment. You saw just the connection on the field with the alumni. They were invested in the game. They stuck around. They watched the whole thing. They were on the sideline. You saw recruits engaged. That's what you want to see. And I'm sorry, it was a nice testament of 33,000 people. I saw a very, very meager photo from the air of the Coliseum looking down at SC that also had their spring game. And
it looked like trash.
I don't know if they could really claim fight on when it looked like
their fans are trash
there.
At USC. Yeah. They're such fair weather fans. They don't.
It was it was nice weather. They went to the beach instead. So.
I mean, I don't want to be rude or unkind to a passionate USC Trojan fan, because there are some that we personally know.
Have 10,000 people at the Coliseum.
No, and it doesn't help that the Coliseum is ginormous and everyone looks like microscopic when in a large photo. But no, you're not wrong. The USC Notre Dame has clearly a better following. And it's really surprising to see USC with a new head coach and Lincoln Riley, and all these other good things that USC has going for it, just from a recruiting standpoint, to a physical location, to the weather, to pick your poison here, right?
Yeah.
USC has a lot of good things going for it. It's the most, I want to say it's the most has the largest endowment of any other university.
Boosters, absolutely.
Yeah, and from money to resources to alumni network, like USC is not a shithole. Like, it's in a pretty bad neighborhood, but I don't like the university, right? And I refuse to step on campus, out of principle, right? Like, fuck that team. Yeah, screw USC. Like, we should have a USC hate show. Oh yeah. Maybe we'll do that in the summer. I don't know. Just let people come in and just bitch about, I hate Michigan, I hate Ohio State, I hate USC, I hate Miami, whatever. Maybe we'll do that. That'll be kind of fun. I want to hear what other people hate. So, I'll put in the last 2 cents here. I'm really looking forward to next season. When I started this show, a lot of it was because I'm going into year 3 of the show. Red Snapper, you're going to come on when you possibly can, given the time change and the physical distance. But thanks to the power of the internet, this is possible. With respect to me personally going into year 3 of the Fighting Irish Faithful show, I want to make it as interactive as possible, not just hear myself talk. I'm really excited to hear what people like Eric Barsegian, people like Nick, Jason Yeager, ND Prime, Kevin, all these guys, Dave, what does the average Notre Dame fan think? What are people looking at? What is going on in their mind? And a lot of us kind of have some similar things, but everyone kind of has a different direction of the compass. But at the end of the day, we all want success for our football program. And I'm really excited now going into this new era under Marcus Freeman. We don't technically know what is about to happen. Is it going to be great? Is it going to start off slow and then get great like how Lou Holtz's career was? Who knows? All I know is we all believe as Notre Dame fans that Notre Dame is a great place to foster a great football program, and we do believe that Marcus Freeman is the guy who can take us there. So that's where I will leave it. We'll leave it with Marcus Freeman. He's, I think, doing what he thinks is right. I support him so far in everything he has done to this point to make our football team great. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the performance on the football field. He has to execute. If he goes into Columbus and takes care of business there, man,
get ready. Strap it in.
I don't even really want to think about that because I don't want to, count any chickens before the eggs hatch here. All right. There's a lot of good potential here. If we don't win, we'll pick up the pieces and we'll go from there. But thank you everyone for joining us here on the Fighting Irish Faithful show. This is episode 2 of season 3, volume 54. We are very grateful to everyone who called in and joined in tonight on Twitter Spaces. Stay tuned. We may go to a slightly different format come the end of the summer going into the fall. Stay tuned for Twitter on all the details on that. Right now we're going to stay with Twitter Space, and we'll go from there. So want to thank everyone. Kevin who called in, ND Prime, Jason Yeager, Coach Barsegian, Dave, and Nick, and of course my brother, Red Snapper 9098. I am at Faithful_Irish. This is the Fighting Irish Faithful show. Thank you everyone for joining us. Go Irish, beat summer, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers and good night.